They're fast, reliable, and committed to getting you the medications you need without the runaround. When everyone around you is sick and you know you have to be prepared, or when you don't want to wait in line for maintenance meds, you absolutely need All Family Pharmacy. They've got antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu, ivermectin. Order online at allfamilypharmacy.com/bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. On this Tuesday, for the opening message of 2026, I'm going to be unkind. George Stephanopoulos has recertified his status as a nitwit, which has been growing ever since Donald Trump entered politics. George, who cost ABC News about $16 million in legal costs last year after calling the president a rapist, is very concerned there's no legitimate basis to justify the removal of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. Apparently, all the ABC News producers who tended George couldn't find the time to research the story, most likely because ABC now does so many weather-related reports, the staff has fallen out of touch with real news. If you want to know whether it was cloudy in Caracas when U.S. Special Forces grabbed Maduro, ABC is your go-to. But if you're looking for actual facts, keep your focus here. On November 24, 2025, the Trump administration designated the Cartel de los Solos as a terrorist organization. That means the USA can legally use military force against it. Los Solos smuggles narcotics into America and does a number of other criminal things. Maduro is allegedly involved with the group, at least that's what the Justice Department says. That is the legal basis for Trump's action against Old Nick, who the CIA believes has $200 million stashed away. Wow, who knew being the dictator of Venezuela paid so well? Do you think George Stephanopoulos knows any of this? I don't. Back in a moment. Bill O'Reilly here. If you are stuck in a timeshare you no longer want, my friends at Lone Star Transfer can assist. Over the past 15 years, the family-owned company has helped more than 30,000 owners break free from their timeshares. They'll provide a guaranteed solution to exit your timeshare. So please call Lone Star Transfer 833-594-0079 or visit LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We continue to ride this wave of unseasonably warm winter weather, once again topping out about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high sits at 60 degrees. Very nice. Pockets of clouds around this morning, but mostly sunny skies this afternoon as winds turn out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the low, and we'll keep the beautiful weather going tomorrow. Mostly sunny and a high of 62 Wednesday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
There's a lot to talk about today, St. Louis. Let's get the conversation started. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, so now the question is, what's next? And we're talking about what's next regarding Venezuela and what's next, frankly, to some other countries. Cuba, maybe Colombia, I don't know. A lot of news is unfolding throughout the week. And how about this? What's next in Minnesota? Yeah, Tampon Tim makes it official. He's not running for re-election this year. We're going to get into that as well. Well, good morning. Hey, Mike Ferguson here. Don't forget, tomorrow, Susie and I are going to be at the Missouri State Capitol doing the show for the opening day of the 2026 Missouri legislative session. So if you have any questions that you want us to ask our lawmakers and leaders, send me a note or email me, mike@newstalkstl.com, and I will try to work as many of those in throughout the day as possible. All right, well, with the news fresh off the weekend of our strikes in Venezuela and the capture of Nicolas Maduro, we talked to Congressman Bob Onder about that regarding his take on the actions themselves that we took and about what's next regarding should we run the country? Should we simply allow them to put together what's next? Well, Bob had a lot of thoughts on that. Here's what he had to say. When did you learn of the strikes in Venezuela? Because, we're hearing, a number of Democrats, and I would say some Republicans are saying, yeah, we weren't briefed on this one. When did you find out?
Good morning. Yeah, it's great to be back. Well, I found out the same time everyone else found out. I found out through the news. We tuned into one of the media outlets on Saturday morning, probably Fox News, and found out about it. So, no, I wasn't briefed ahead of time either.
Bob, I know you all are heading back to D.C. today. Do you expect, and there will be some briefings, do you expect that all of Congress will get a briefing, or will it just be select members?
Yeah, so today I think it will be the Foreign Affairs and Armed Services committees in the House that will get the briefing. I'm going to be on a plane this afternoon heading back. Tomorrow, we are going to be spending, we House Republicans are going to be spending all day at the Trump Kennedy Center talking about policy issues. I think many policy issues. It's going to be an all-day event. But, of course, given recent developments, I think Venezuela will be top on the list, and President Trump will be meeting with us then. So, today I think it's the committees, the direct committees directly involved, and then tomorrow the rest of us.
Okay, so what's your assessment of what you know right now? I mean, obviously the argument is this was a law enforcement action and the military was there to protect that. And, oh, by the way, it turns out a regime we don't like has fallen in the process. That would be different legally than we went in to topple another government. But what's your assessment of what has happened? Because the follow-up question here in a minute is going to be, okay, what role, if any, should we have in running their country, which the president and some others have mentioned. But let's start with your assessment of where things are right now.
Yeah, I would say regarding the first part, there's a lot to talk about here. Mm-hmm. The first part, the legal justification. I agree with you and Susie, your analysis that hey, we're arresting a suspect with a warrant, an indictment in the Southern District of New York for drug trafficking. I think that's part of the story. And other parts of the story, though, are that ever since Thomas Jefferson sent the Navy to put down the Barbary pirates in 1801, presidents have taken military action many times without Congress to defend the interests of the United States and the safety of Americans. And I think this is another example of this. The Democrats howling about President Trump and this action. I want to know whether back when President Clinton bombed Yugoslavia for 78 days, where were they then? Or when Biden or Obama were doing cruise missile strikes in the Middle East. But, I think there are other elements that we've not been talking about. We talk about, Venezuela having vast oil reserves, of course, but we have other strategic, safety issues. The rare earth mineral crisis we experienced when China embargoed those. China has control over 91% of the Earth's rare earth minerals, and they are deeply involved in the supply chain in Venezuela. We know that Iran has drones that with a 2,000-kilometer range that could hit southern Florida in Venezuela, and we know Russia has military advisors in Venezuela. So I think it was the legal justification is, as we said, but I think there was a lot going into the decision to go in to Venezuela. What's next? We don't have a very good history of regime change or nation building, and I'm not at all confident that Delcy Rodriguez is going to be the ideal partner for peace and stability and a stable transition in Venezuela. So I look forward to learning more about what the plans are there.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of questions to be answered there, but it's good to ask them and good to have those conversations. You guys are going to be busy this month because not only is healthcare a priority, but the appropriations bills have an expiration date of January 30th.
Absolutely.
So what are you looking to, over the next couple of weeks, really be focusing on? What are you optimistic that you all will be able to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, that January 30th deadline for getting the rest of the budget bills done. Again, there are 12 budget bills that need to be done. 3 have been done so far when we reopened the government last month. But now, now we're looking at another January 30th deadline. And my fear is that Democrats believe that opposing Donald Trump is more politically popular, at least among their far left base, than doing the real work of government. And I'm afraid we might very well be headed toward another situation where the Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, make unreasonable demands, and we end up in another shutdown. I hope I'm wrong on that one. I think you'll see the House pass probably all of the budget bills by January 30th. But what happens in the Senate is a whole other story.
Okay, so would a lot of that have to do again with trying to bring back or renegotiate the Obamacare subsidies? We've heard some Democrats talk about that. Over the next couple of days, if Venezuela were not overwhelming the news right now, Maduro were not overwhelming the news, we'd probably be hearing a lot about those who don't get the subsidies anymore and all of the sob stories regarding that. Some Republicans, Nicole Maliotakis and some of the others, are saying, well, we're negotiating. We'll have something bipartisan. I'm hoping that there's not a debate to bring back the subsidies. But what is the conversation right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, remember the way the shutdown conversation, the continuing resolution conversation started this fall was that Chuck Schumer wanted, not only did he want the subsidies, and again, these are the COVID era subsidies. The Obamacare exchanges are still heavily subsidized with or without these COVID subsidies. He wanted those. He wanted all of the Medicaid reforms passed in the One Big Beautiful Bill repealed. He wanted all of the Trump rescissions and DOGE cuts nullified, and a promise of no future rescissions or spending cuts. So that was the Democrats' negotiating position. They kind of backed off. Now I think they'd settle for extension of these COVID subsidies. But look, these COVID subsidies, they're almost as bad a scandal of waste, fraud, and abuse as the Minnesota welfare program scandal. We know that 41% of the folks enrolled made not a single claim, which means many of them were phantom enrollees. People were being signed up by insurance brokers fraudulently. 2 insurance brokers in West Palm Beach, Florida alone did $233 million of fraud with these enhanced COVID subsidies. So this is a government program passed with only Democrat votes in the name of fighting COVID. COVID has been officially over for 2.5 years. It's time for those subsidies to expire and to move on. But healthcare will be a conversation this year, and including in this year's election, and it needs to be, because we have an affordability crisis in healthcare driven largely by Obamacare. It's the last time we need to double down on Obamacare dysfunction.
Bob, you mentioned the waste out of Minnesota and the fraud out of Minnesota. Obviously, that's been top of mind for a lot of people lately, and it sounds like there's going to be an oversight hearing, part 1, on Wednesday. As I said earlier, part 1 of 11. What other? I know that's going to be the oversight committee looking into that. What other committees do you think will be looking into these social welfare programs and government spending in relation to them, and the waste and the fraud that's been going on with them?
Yeah, I hope that all of the committees of jurisdiction look at those. Of course, food stamps or SNAP are under the Department or the Agricultural Committee. Several of these, Medicaid is under the Energy and Commerce Committee, and then there are these various housing programs. I think a lot of those were. I just cannot believe that Medicaid, which is supposed to be a health insurance program, program for poor people is being used in Minnesota and California elsewhere for housing homeless people. That may be a good cause, but talk about mission creep. I think almost every committee of jurisdiction is going to have something to look at in this Minnesota, just as one prosecutor put it, industrial level fraud, and of course the House Judiciary Committee, on which I serve, often does oversight in some of these areas too.
Okay, once again, if you got some questions for Missouri's lawmakers and statewide leaders, we're going to have a number of them on the program tomorrow in the Missouri State Capitol. Send me a note. You can send us a note on social media. The best thing to do probably, though, is email me, mike@newstalkstl.com, so I can pull those up on my phone while we are at the Capitol doing the show tomorrow. This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
What the president is doing is pretty much forcing them both to the table.
Ukraine has negotiated in good faith.
Can we get the killing stopped?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At U.S. Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With U.S. Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
U.S. Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With U.S. Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose U.S. Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. U.S. Med. Better service, better care. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. 800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
It's what we were taught, trained, and told to do.
It could be for anything. Helping a friend move.
Listening to a fellow veteran for hours, at any hour of the day.
Or just simply making time for people. A neighbor, a loved one, or even a stranger.
We're often the first to help others. There's no question about it.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
Perhaps it's time to do for yourself what you would do for others.
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, Missouri Democrats make their top legislative priority known because Republicans have said, hey, here are our goals. and leadership and the governor seem to be on the same page on that. We'll see what they get done or what that's going to look like. And now the Democrats have said, nope, we've got our priority. Job number one, we know what we want to do in 2026.
Oh?
Yes. That is, well, I'll tell you that in just a second because we're going to be at the Capitol tomorrow, as you know. So before I tell you what the Democrats' top priority is, just to let you know, Susie and I are going to be broadcasting the show from the Missouri Capitol. If you're there, because a lot of people who are really active in politics and advocacy, we're going to be on the third floor rotunda. And so come on by, say hi. There's going to be a number of lawmakers and some state leaders, and I can now confirm Governor Keogh is going to be on the program with us as well. So he's going to be there, and so we'll have that throughout the morning. Matter of fact, if you've got a question that you would like me to ask one of the lawmakers or statewide officials, you can send it to me on social media. I'll try to remember to grab it and print it up, or you can just email it to me, Mike, M-I-K-E, at newstalkstl.com. And then that way it'll be right on my phone when I'm there because I don't think I'm going to have a printer when I'm doing the broadcast. So Susie and I are going to be there, really excited for that. And we really appreciate our friends at Americans for Prosperity Missouri chapter for partnering with us and making that happen. So just a few hours after the show today, I do my post-production stuff, and then I'm headed to Jeff City.
Very nice.
Yes, it is. Okay, so the Democrats, let me go back to this so I'm not just being a tease here. The Democrats in the Missouri legislature have made their top priority known.
And I'm assuming it has something to do with getting some more common sense, returning to reality, becoming more rational, right?
Let's call that Plan B.
Oh, no.
Their top priority is blocking tax reform and tax relief.
Wow.
Yes. That's the mission that they have decided to do in 2026 in an election year where they are the super minority and traditionally the opposition party has the biggest opportunity for gains. So here's Representative Ashley Awney. Now, she is the Democratic leader in the House, and honestly, there are so few Democrats that Republicans could easily just ignore them and go, well, that's cute. And they may do that, but here's what she had to say, and she gave these comments to Fox 2.
We think it's a really bad idea that's going to bankrupt our state. I'm really concerned about the budget. The auditor just came out with a report that shows that general revenues going to dip below zero by 2028. And that's really concerning. That doesn't even include the governor's proposal to eliminate income taxes.
Yeah, so what she says is that what we think is a really bad idea is eliminating the state income tax.
So the thing that most people in Missouri seem to be on board with is what they're going to campaign against. But
yes.
If you're so concerned about the budget, why is it not? Let's look at our government spending and try to see where we can make some cuts and get that spending down.
By the way, we're going to talk to the state auditor. Scott Fitzpatrick's going to join us on the program tomorrow too, because he came out just last week and said, "Listen, if you don't start making some serious cuts in spending, there is a big problem coming," and that's what Representative Awney was referencing there, and he's got the right idea, and obviously the Democrats don't, which is one of the reasons they're in the super minority of the legislature. We've had it with the taxes. And the thing is that more and more people are now looking at things on the big picture, because here's what has happened for years. I am paying too much in taxes. And your library district or your school board goes, well, don't take that out on us. We need some more taxes, but you can get mad at the state or the federal government. We have to have this. Don't look at them all as the same thing. And now people are saying, wait a minute. We've had enough. Seniors around the state of Missouri are looking to where they can go, in some cases, based on whether or not they can afford to stay in their home or stay in a home on a fixed income, on a retirement income. Be it a pension, be it Social Security, be it their 401k, be it whatever. And property taxes make a big difference. So the senior property tax freeze happens, and you get local and state officials throwing a fit. The St. Charles County collector called it jackass legislation.
Wow.
The St. Charles County collector of revenue, and then, of course, the entire collection online system completely fouled up, and it's a big mess over there. And then Democrats and state officials and teachers unions, and they all throw a fit saying, okay, if you're going to get mad at taxes, then go after the state or federal taxes. But the reality is that they don't want any of those. They have a government first thinking mindset.
Yeah, this really comes off as somebody that knows every year they're going to have somebody with a gun show up to pickpocket them, to steal their money, and then being mad that the person didn't take more money from them. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, so 6:35, we're going to chat with Brandon Arnold from our friends over at National Taxpayer Union. There's now a coalition. We're talking dozens, literally dozens, like 40 some odd activist and advocacy organizations from basically the center to the right are banding together saying we have to have some tax reform, and that means tax relief. That doesn't mean shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
That means we need to noticeably have less money coming out of our pocket. We have to have that breathing room. In other words, let me boil it down to Mike language. We have to have more people first thinking instead of government first thinking. That's where we're at. All right, news dump coming away. By the way, the police chief's got a side gig in St. Louis now.
Oh.
Yeah.
NewsTalkSTL takes you live to Jefferson City for the 2026 Missouri Legislature opening session, Wednesday, January 7th. Mike Ferguson in the morning and former House Speaker Tim Jones and Chris Arps bring you exclusive coverage and insider access. We're live from the third floor of the Missouri Capitol beginning Wednesday morning at 5:30 and Wednesday afternoon at 3. Don't miss this special broadcast this Wednesday on 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalkSTL. Brought to you by Americans for Prosperity.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobbler's, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit BlueOceanMediaGroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
If you're worried about losing your health insurance through Medicaid, we have great news for you. New government regulations have expanded the Affordable Care Act. And now, you may qualify to get health insurance for you and your family through the Affordable Care Act. Call now to learn if you qualify. We know the healthcare regulations regarding Medicaid, and we've helped thousands of people find quality, affordable health insurance. Plus, all our research is free to you. So call us. With just one call, we'll shop from hundreds of different insurance companies to find you the right affordable health insurance plan. So if you're worried about losing your Medicaid insurance, call right now. Speak with a licensed agent and find how you may qualify for a new health insurance plan.
800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. 800-479-0931. That's 800-479-0931. Paid for by the Health Insurance Hotline.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans and your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. Even if you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Or from Town Hall, I'm Rich Thomason. Deposed Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife have been returned to a New York detention center following their arraignment on narco-terrorism, conspiracy, and weapons charges. Not surprisingly, Maduro pled not guilty. Also not surprisingly, many congressional Democrats condemned the capture of Maduro, Well, most Republicans are saying well done. And speaking of Republicans, President Trump will huddle with some of them later today.
The president will address the House GOP retreat this morning, which is being held at the Kennedy Center in Washington. Lawmakers will be discussing their legislative goals during the all-day retreat and strategizing how to keep their House majority in the midterm elections.
White House correspondent Greg Clugston. Health and Human Services out with revised guidelines for childhood vaccinations. Hepatitis and meningitis, RSV, and flu shots are no longer recommended for every child. HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill says the number of vaccinations has been rising for years.
They've gone from 23 doses for 7 diseases in 1980 to more than 80 doses for 18 diseases now. That's a huge number of vaccines. Many parents are concerned that they're injecting their young, innocent children with a lot of medicines. They're not sure about the risks and benefits of all these.
O'Neill speaking with the Salem Radio Network. After announcing he's dropping his re-election bid and delivering a diatribe against President Trump, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz turned on his heels and walked away, taking no questions from reporters. Walz's political career, derailed by the massive Somali welfare scandal in Minnesota, was uncovered by a single man, a citizen journalist armed with a phone. Following yesterday's big gains, Wall Street may pull back a bit today. The Dow futures are down 89 points. The S&P futures 4 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Every day I speak with people who are worried and are feeling a lot of pressure because of credit card debt. That's why I'm very proud of what we do at Trinity. We just help. We give people the support they need, along with a real plan to become debt-free. Credit card bills are consolidated into a single monthly payment that is much less than what they were paying before. Most of our members end up saving thousands and even may improve their credit scores by as much as 200 points. I know from the bottom of my heart that I'm making a difference in the lives of the people we help. It just makes me really happy.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Julie, and I'm a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We continue to ride this wave of unseasonably warm winter weather, once again topping out about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high sits at 60 degrees. Very nice. Pockets of clouds around this morning, but mostly sunny skies this afternoon as winds turn out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the low, and we'll keep the beautiful weather going tomorrow. Mostly sunny and a high of 62 Wednesday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere. Mike Ferguson.
I'm not like the rest of you. I don't make mistakes.
Susie Moore.
What you're telling me doesn't sound logical, my dear.
Get up! Get up! In case you hear the alarm. Get up, St. Louis.
You need to get to go. I need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, Venezuela's new leader just started, and she's already hearing threats from President Trump.
Well, that was quick.
Welcome to the gig.
Well,
Here's your first day. Here's the little present with a bow on it.
yeah. I mean, I think they've got to try and assure that there's someone that they can work with.
Yeah. So we'll get into that in a second here. Missouri Democrats seem to have settled on their top priority, and that is keep taxing you as much as possible.
What could go wrong?
Great move in an election year there, folks.
Okay.
Wow. And the city's police chief gets a side gig. And I'm actually not mad at him for this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll explain why I don't think this is the same thing as the Kimberly Gardner situation.
Okay.
So I'll give you the details on that. 6:06 right now. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, President Trump is warning Venezuela's new leader, who I guess was the vice president, warning her to cooperate with the administration.
The president said Vice President Delcy Rodriguez would face a situation probably worse than Nicolas Maduro if she doesn't cooperate with the U.S. He initially praised Rodriguez on Saturday after the capture of Maduro, but told The Atlantic on Sunday that if she doesn't do what's right, she is going to pay a very big price. Later, aboard Air Force One, the president predicted Cuba's government could soon collapse, and he repeated his desire to take over Greenland. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so admittedly, I am not familiar with the chain of command in Venezuela. I don't think that they do the president and vice president the way that we do. I don't know what her line of succession was to become the new leader of Venezuela. So the reason I say that is there any reason to believe that she was part of Maduro's criminal enterprises?
Maybe not part of his criminal enterprises, but she was in very thick with him, and she's been part of that crew and entourage. So whether there's criminal repercussions that could be coming her way or not, I don't know the answer to that. But the problem is, she's very much a socialist, and she was very much in thick with the Maduro people. So it's like, okay, are you just putting somebody in that's going to carry on his behavior? I don't know.
Yeah, time's going to tell on that one. And the UN Security Council meeting to discuss this whole situation with Maduro being captured. Speaking at the meeting, U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, says Maduro was not the legitimate leader of Venezuela.
Over 50 countries rejected the legitimacy of Maduro's re-election following the disputed 2024 elections and do not recognize him as Venezuela's legitimately elected president. Maduro unlawfully refused to peacefully cede power.
And Maduro has pled not guilty, and he's arguing that the U.S. wanted regime change so that the U.S. could access Venezuela's natural resources.
He's been kidnapped, and he's a man of God.
Oh, he's a man of God now?
That's what he said.
Oh,
in
no
court.
kidding.
Did you see? He had an outburst in court.
Yeah, I saw that he said, I'm a good man and I'm a legitimate, I'm the president, still the president of my country. I didn't hear the man of God thing.
Yeah.
That's fascinating because it's kind of funny to me because how can you both be a man of God and a socialist?
Well, he didn't get a chance to explain that, or he wasn't really asked that. The judge said, hey, well, hold slow your roll there, buddy. You'll have a chance to make your defenses. We're not going to do that right now. So we'll see.
All right. Okay. Missouri Democrats say they want to block tax reform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, that's a darn good question. Missouri Democratic leader Ashley Awney told reporters that stopping the effort to end the state's income tax is among their top priorities, if not their top priority.
Because we love income taxes?
Yeah, because, her argument that she gave to the reporter on Fox 2 was, well, it's going to bankrupt the state.
Okay.
Okay.
Can she show her math? Can she show her work?
Now she is, to be fair, she cited Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick's statement saying, hey, if you don't start cutting spending. you're going to have some fiscal issues.
So is she ready to start cutting spending?
That did not come up in the conversation from what I could hear.
Okay.
Just keep taxing, keep taxing, keep taxing. Now, Republicans, of course, have a supermajority in both chambers in the legislature, so Democratic opposition to tax relief could be easily defeated if the GOP lawmakers just choose to ignore them. Honestly, the Republicans don't even have to acknowledge the Democrats, and they could just steamroll whatever they want. That's generally not how it works, but they could if they really were serious and if there were any sort of shenanigans by the Democrats to try to block this.
Well, good luck to them, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, you heard the news. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz saying he is not going to seek re-election. He was speaking to reporters in St. Paul, and he explained his version of why he is not running for a third term, even after previously announcing he was going to be in that race.
I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences.
Okay, so I suspect he probably would have been in a pretty good position to win re-election had he continued to run. But at this point, there's clearly more to come in this story than what we know right now.
I think so.
Yes. And he didn't want to reference the Nick Shirley videos.
Of course not.
But this is having a much, much, much more massive impact than anybody on the left wants to admit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, Nick Shirley is far from the only person who's investigated this and, reported on it. It's just that his video caught people's attention and went viral. So it really dialed in the focus on this.
Yeah, and it's forcing even some of the other mainstream media to acknowledge that there are problems. Now they're trying to be begrudging about it, and they're trying to undercut, Nick Shirley and the Republican and the Trump efforts on all of this. They're trying to do that because they know if this takes on national fire, which I think it kind of has.
I think that horse is out of the barn.
Has. All of a sudden, California, Illinois, New York, and all these other states are now going, oh, crap, our gravy train's in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So at this point, my guess is Senator Amy Klobuchar would probably jump in on the Democratic side, and she would be the heavy favorite to win if she were to do that.
Yeah, that's not unlikely. I know that she and Walz met on Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
and she said she's considering it.
Yeah. Yeah, and for her that maybe makes sense because if she has higher ambitions, if she wants to run for president again, it's good to go to it from a governor's, from an executive position than from the Senate. So,
yeah, and I don't know anything about the Republican race other than the lunatic Mike Lindell is running, and hopefully the Minnesota Republicans have the sense to nominate anybody other than him.
I don't think he's in the lead in that.
I would not think so.
I don't think so.
So I don't know who else is running, but Minnesota is actually a winnable state if there's enough going on there. I mean, and Norm Coleman was elected there not all that long ago to the U.S. Senate, so it's not like they've never elected a Republican.
Yeah. I haven't seen who else might be, a viable candidate in the Republican side of the race.
Yeah, it's still heavy Democratic would be the favorites on that. All right, the city's police chief is moonlighting. Yeah.
I just thought about the show Moonlighting when you said that.
It was Bruce Willis.
Yeah, such a great show.
It was a good show. It was a good show. All right, Chief Robert Tracy has taken on a second job at UMSL, where he's now a consultant with the Department of Criminology and the Criminal Justice Center. Okay, so here's why I don't have an issue with this at all. He's taking that new position after the St. Louis Police Foundation decided to no longer contribute $100,000 a year to the chief's annual compensation, because that was actually part of the deal when he took the job, is that here's what the city pays, which isn't necessarily what somebody at that level would get, but they had this foundation to help subsidize that to keep City Hall from having to spend that much money. And so that private contribution has been pulled, and so now he's taking on a second job. I doubt he's going to make $100,000 off of it. But whatever he does make, it's sort of making up for that. And the change came after the state is taking over oversight of the police department. So his role is not going to be the same.
Yeah, and it just seems like it kind of dovetails with what he's doing. In other words, it's not like, he's, a prosecutor by day and a nursing student by night or that sort of thing. No, I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with it as long as it's by the book, as long as he's following the rules.
One of my one more interesting classes I took was a criminal justice class in college, and it was taught by the chief of detectives of the Columbia Police Department, who was moonlighting at the time, and I got a lot out of it. I thought it was real pretty interesting there. All right, the Blues do not play again until tomorrow at 17, 18, and 8. They are in 6th place in the Central Division. They've got 42 points. The Blues will be in Chicago on Wednesday to play the Blackhawks. I went and looked up the standings for the wild card right now. It ain't good. I'm not going to do that again for another month or so to see where it's
best
at.
not to.
You have a soul so dark it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. Making cold my heart to fight your war.
Well, there you go again. Listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Hey, new year, new you, right? Thinking about those resolutions. Maybe you're thinking your resolve is, I actually need to spruce up my home. One of the best ways to do that is with new flooring. So if you are thinking about that, I have the place for you. You need to check out Michael's Flooring Outlet. They're a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years, so you know you can count on them. I used them in the past. I had a great experience with them, and you will too. Doesn't matter what kind of flooring you might be looking for, whatever your preferences, they've got all of the options there. They've got carpet, they've got hardwood, they've got laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, you name it, they've got it. Plus, with Michael's, you know your installation is going to be done right the first time because it's being done by the experts at Michael's. No subcontractors. Michael's, you get the best combination ever. You get great quality and great value. So if you're thinking it's time for you to spruce up your home with new flooring, go check out Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 locations, on Olive and Creve Coeur, on Town Square in Darting Prairie, or on Main Street in St. Peters. Or you can shop in the comfort of your own home. Just go online to igotfloored.com.
When water troubles strike, call the family you can trust. Tim Jones here for Ambassador Plumbing, serving our community since 2018 with 25 years of master plumbing expertise from Tim Morris and his hand-picked team. Whether it's a simple faucet repair or a complete bathroom remodel, if water runs to it or through it, they do it. From residential service calls to commercial to new construction, the folks at Ambassador are your neighbors treating you like family. Ambassador Plumbing, where faith meets craftsmanship. 636-383-6932 or ambassadorplumbing.com. That's ambassadorplumbing.com.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester of McKnight in Rock Hill.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, sedition or punishment for opposing the administration. That's basically the argument right now between the administration and Senator Mark Kelly. It is 6:19 right now. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth censuring Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, and this has to do with that disobey illegal orders or ignore illegal orders video that he was a part of. Town Hall's Greg Cluxton has the story.
In November, Kelly joined 5 other lawmakers in a video that called on troops to uphold the Constitution and not follow illegal orders. Defense Secretary Hegseth said the censure was a necessary step toward proceedings that could result in a demotion from Kelly's retired rank of captain. Kelly responded by calling the move outrageous and wrong. The senator said it sends the message to every single retired service member that if they say something Hegseth or Donald Trump doesn't like, they will come after them the same way. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so I've got Mark Kelly's response here in just a moment that he put up on social media. So RedState's been covering this, obviously, as well. This is not just a First Amendment situation because of his military service.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm not even that well versed on the legal ramifications of it, but I know that there are limitations that come with being in the military that have to do with, your speech rights that don't apply to civilians. And so yeah, this isn't if it was just about someone saying something the administration doesn't like or opposing the administration, then half the country would be getting this business. It's not that. I mean, when they released that video, I think most of us had the same reaction, which was, "What are you doing?" Like, it really did seem to cross a line. So,
right.
I don't know. I think that he's a lot of bluff and bluster. I think that there are going to be consequences that he's going to face for it, and I think that's realistic.
Yeah. So the argument being made by Pete Hegseth is what you specifically said could have been disruptive to military operations, essentially, because the free speech absolutist in me says, okay, let's tread lightly here. Let's make sure we're on solid footing, because you have an elected United States senator going after the policies of the administration, which you're free to do. But what Pete Hegseth is saying is, because you're retired from the military, we have a way to punish you by basically demoting you post-career, and that affects your pension, essentially. I don't think they're not talking about throwing him in jail or anything like that.
No.
But they're basically talking about penalizing him financially.
Well, even as a retired military serviceman, one, the code of conduct still applies after you're out of the service, and two, you would have an idea of how what would be called grunts, like the lower servicemen or the people that are in the military that maybe didn't want to go there, might respond to that. So I do think it was, at the very least, especially from a position of authority and from experience, a very irresponsible thing to be part of that. If it was just the civilian senators, congresspeople, politicians doing it, I think that would be a little bit different, but I mean, it's still responsible.
Yeah, I mean, you look at any other senator who's never been in the military. I mean, and if they say the same thing, this is not an issue. But it's because he was in the military that the Department of Defense / War, whatever you want to call it, that they say, no, here's why we can go after you, is because you were in the military. I don't think Dick Durbin was ever in the military. I don't know that for sure.
Well, he's old enough that he might have been.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm just like, let's just say like Tammy Duckworth obviously was.
Yes.
So they could do this with her.
Jason Crow, who was part of the video,
right?
the representative from Colorado, could also be in
the. Let's look at that. But let's look at for instance, Wesley Bell was never in the media.
Correct.
Or never in the military, rather. So had he done a video like this, there's really nothing they could do other than wag their finger and call him names.
Well, right. And I mean, the video, regardless of who was in it, it rightly drew the criticism that it drew.
Oh, yeah. It was
because it wasn't just, we don't disagree with what the administration doing. This was like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
You shouldn't really have to follow what your chain of command said. I mean, it was like almost right up to just basically saying,
phenomenally irresponsible.
Give the chain of the command the finger.
Right.
And so I think that that would have been there regardless. But because Kelly and others were military, there is this additional ramification, and they had to be aware of that.
And the shameful thing, too, is if he had used his position as a former serviceman and said, look, consult your, I don't know what the books are actually called, but like your code of conduct books, make sure that what you're doing is in alignment with protocol, because it is standard operating procedure that you follow protocol, you don't follow orders. So if that had been the statement from him saying, look, just make sure it's within protocol, then there would not have been an issue, and you could still get the point across of pay attention to what you're being ordered.
Right.
It was stupid.
Okay, so here's Senator Kelly's response, and it's a little over a minute long, which is a little longer than I would normally play, but I was looking for like the key part, and I'm like, you know what? In order to be fair and keep it all in context, I'm just going to play his whole statement here. So here's Senator Mark Kelly responding, and he put this on social media.
I've got a question for you. How many generations of Donald Trump's family have served in the military? 0. Now, for me and my family, service to our country is in my blood. My great-grandfather served in the U.S. Navy after immigrating from Ireland. Both of my grandfathers served during World War II. Both of my parents wore uniforms. My dad in the 82nd Airborne, and both of them as career police officers. And when it was our turn, my brother and I started as volunteer EMTs, as teenagers, before becoming Navy captains, pilots in the United States Navy, and NASA astronauts. Donald Trump, he deferred the draft 5 times because he had bone spurs. Look, not everyone has to serve in our military. I get that. But when you're gonna question my patriotism and lecture me about duty to this country and threaten me with a court-martial, 4 generations of service to this country earns me the right to speak. 5 deferments earns nothing.
I have thoughts.
Please.
First
The
of all,
floor is yours.
First of all, the commander-in-chief has a say whether he served in the military or not. And Barack Obama didn't serve in the military, and Joe Biden didn't serve in the military. So shut the heck up, Mark Kelly. Secondly, Pete Hegseth did serve in the military. He's the one who issued this order. So, again, shut the heck up, Mark Kelly.
Jerome was like, oh, do I need the dump button?
It was close. It was really close.
I don't think you're ever going to need the dump button with Susie.
But I do enjoy seeing how far sometimes you took the line.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. What? Okay, give us your bona fides. We know you served in the military. This isn't about whether you served. It's whether what you did was appropriate.
And again, in our form of government, when you elect somebody to be the representative of something, to be in charge of something, they're the ones in charge regardless of whatever credentials they may or not have. I mean, commander-in-chief is literally in the title of the position.
Yeah.
So it should be that simple. I just don't. I mean, I get it. I know why they're doing it. Everybody that is being honest knows exactly what this was meant to do and what the intention was. But at the same time, I don't understand if you're going to try to be tongue-in-cheek and imply and nudge people and go in the direction that this video is meant to do, why were you not smarter about the way that you produced the video and what your actual rhetoric was?
I don't think this was about smart or not. I think this was designed to be as provocative as it was, knowing that there could be this response because then he can become the martyr. I think this was completely designed. This is an op.
Oh,
so let me ask the question here, and this isn't devil's advocate. This is just looking at those who are not intent on knowing what's happening. So the people who aren't going to go out of their way to stay informed. So the people, like for instance, who are not watching or listening right now, part of this conversation right now with us, all of those people. To them, they're not hearing what's it called? The Uniform Code of Military Justice, I think, is what the rules are. And I have not been in the military, so I'm not versed in it, obviously. But to those who are just normal people, go to work, go to the kids' sports, trying to keep up, they vote, they do all the things that good people do. When they hear a lot of this, are they thinking less in terms of, well, that's the military code, it follows you after retirement, versus, he spoke out against the president and they're going to court-martial him. That's a First Amendment thing. The man's a U.S. senator.
That's what they're thinking,
Yeah.
which, again, is why I said it's an op. This was all set up from the get-go.
Yeah. So then if you want to have an honest discussion about it, not that I would accuse either side of wanting to have an honest discussion of it, but if you wanted to do that, then what's the way to say that when it comes up? Because I've gotten out of the habit. It's funny because some of my friends, especially my friends on the left, they want to start stuff with me, and I'm like, I'm off duty. I'm not getting paid to argue right now.
Right.
Now I'll talk about it with some just to have coffee conversations. But for somebody who goes, yeah, I saw that he opposed the administration, and now they're trying to charge him with something. Okay, well, it's not quite that simple. So how do you make that into layman's terms to where people say, well, here's what's actually going on. Make up your own mind, but here's what's actually going on.
So I don't know if there's a way to distill that and do that in a quick little sound bite. In my experience, the best approach whenever you're wanting to have an honest conversation about any topic with somebody who may not see things the same way you do is to use the Socratic method. And if you can, to remove the personalities from it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Let's set aside Donald Trump and Mark Kelly. Just talk about the actual relative positions, talk about what was said, talk about what the rules are. What is your take on that? You can't, it's hard to get people to slow down and actually engage at that level. But if you do, and if you take the party and the persons and that sort of thing out of it, you can have a conversation where you may not agree, but you can at least see, okay, I get your point.
Right. And how long until a civilian court wants to step in on this?
Not long. Not long.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You know, making that tax bill lower is the goal in Missouri this year. An army of activists are working together to make that happen, and we've got the update on that at 6:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Someone in that control room is out of control.
On News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Sam Page just vetoed a measure to hire more minorities in the county. David Stokes of Show Me will tell us if he's just trying to burn it all the way down on his way out.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We continue to ride this wave of unseasonably warm winter weather, once again topping out about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high sits at 60 degrees. Very nice. Pockets of clouds around this morning, but mostly sunny skies this afternoon as winds turn out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the low, and we'll keep the beautiful weather going tomorrow. Mostly sunny and a high of 62 Wednesday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link, owner of the Dental Link. You've heard ads about teeth in a day, but did you know that you will be chewing on plastic, acrylic teeth? Here at the Dental Link, we can give you porcelain crown and bridge teeth utilizing mini dental implants that function much more like real teeth at about half the cost. Plus, mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Give us a call at 314-794-6464 or simply visit us today at thedentallink.com.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or business, we've got you covered. Visit us at Mid-Rivers Mall in St. Peters or call 636-812-2001. Bauer Insurance Agency, the company that protects, the name you can trust.
Mark Harder here, and I'm inviting you to kick off the new year with me at Alloy Personal Training. I joined last year and have been blown away by their approach. At Alloy, each session is different, so I never get bored, and they never have more than 6 people in a class, which allows me to get the attention I need from my personal trainers. Right now, Alloy is giving away free 14-day trials with 2 locations in Baldwin and 1 in Wildwood. Visit alloypersonaltraining.com. Hope to see you in my next session.
We talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
101.9 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8, but now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
All right, Missouri Democrats have their cause for 2026.
What's that?
They do. Stop tax reform.
Okay.
Yeah, because government comes first, I guess.
Priorities.
There's a full court press, though, for tax reform. Now, there's always in election years and the new legislative session and everything that goes with it, there's always a lot of nice talk from Republicans and conservatives. We're going to cut your taxes because that's what we stand for. And then they nibble around the edges. There is a full court press right now in Missouri, a very large coalition, dozens of advocacy organizations working together because they want to see the changes made in order to lighten that tax burden on all of us. Now, this is sort of being spearheaded or kind of the umbrella under the umbrella of the National Taxpayers Union. We're now joined by Brandon Arnold from the National Taxpayers Union. And what's different this year, Brandon? I mean, we always, like we said, every year Republicans are always like, oh, yeah, tax reform, tax cuts, yay for us. Look, we're talking about tax cuts. Conservatives, Republicans, the right in general in Missouri, we're saying, we mean it this time. We've got to have something significant. What's different about 2026 than in the years that we've basically just heard the words?
I think, good morning, by the way, Happy New Year. I think looking around at the rest of the nation, looking what other states are doing, so many states are implementing not just tax cuts, but fundamental tax reform. And everyone is looking at states like Tennessee, like Florida, like Texas, zero income tax states, and recognizing so many of our residents from other states, particularly high tax states like Illinois, are gravitating toward those states. It's not just tax policy, but tax policy plays a huge role in attracting individuals, in attracting businesses who are looking for better economic opportunities. So I think Missouri recognizes right now that standing still is falling behind. It's time to act. Tax reform is right here at the doorstep. Let's push it across the finish line and get it done.
Brandon, playing devil's advocate here, obviously the Democrats have decided that they're going to do just that and work against what should be one of those issues that's everyone's on board with. Is there any credence to the argument that if we do this reform?
Well, like for instance, the Democratic leader, Ashley Awning, she told Fox 2 yesterday when asked about the effort to get rid of the income tax, here's what she actually said.
We think it's a really bad idea that's going to bankrupt our state. I'm really concerned about the budget. The auditor just came out with a report that shows that general revenues going to dip below zero by 2028. And that's really concerning. That doesn't even include the governor's proposal to eliminate income taxes.
So then what's the argument against that?
Well, I think we've looked and seen what other states have done. We've seen states implement good tax reform policies, and we've seen states make mistakes. And I think the governor recognizes that. He's put forth the outlines of a plan here that implement not just tax reductions, but also smart tax reforms and smart budgetary spending changes. So we're not driving up the budget deficit. We're not increasing the burden on taxpayers and acting irresponsibly. So I think there is a path forward here, and it's easy to preach the doom and gloom, I think, that the Democratic leader is preaching. But if you look at the details of the plan as it's coming together here, I think the facts are we can do this. We can learn from North Carolina's success that implemented a series of tax triggers, cuts, as long as budget targets were met. Those triggers have taken place, have reduced the tax burden, and North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country. So we can replicate that in Missouri and make Missouri one of the fastest growing states in the country as well.
So, Brandon, I'm going to guess that what we're going to hear from media here and we're going to hear from the leftist activist here, we're not going to hear about North Carolina. We're going to hear about Kansas, saying, look what those Republicans did under then Governor Sam Brownback. They went and cut a bunch of taxes. Spending didn't get cut. The state darn near, crashed. That's what we're going to hear. And so to kind of piggyback on what Susie was just saying, what's the right answer to that? Because you've cited the example of why this can be done. They're going to cite that Kansas as an example of why it can't be done.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And if you check out the coalition letter that we put together, we had 43 conservative free market organizations, national groups based in Missouri, as well as a handful of groups from across the country. It's on our website at ntu.org and hopefully being shared widely across the state of Missouri. But we specifically recognize the fact that Kansas made a mistake. Kansas overshot the mark when it came to tax cuts. It cut too much without implementing budgetary reforms to make sure that they didn't create a budget mess, to ensure that they did end up with a budget mess. And listen, we've learned that lesson. We've learned it very, very well. I think that set tax reform back many, many years across the country. But we've learned lessons, and I think North Carolina is the direction that we need to point there. There are other examples of states that have implemented smarter tax policies, cutting taxes, putting the state on a glide path to a zero income tax without creating budgetary headaches. So that formula is out there, and don't let the doom and gloom folks tell you otherwise.
So we've touched on it a little bit, but what is the right way to do this? What are the sound mechanisms that can be employed to get us to that ultimate goal?
Yeah, so it's not just about cutting taxes. It's about reforming taxes. So putting the state on a path to get to a zero income tax is great, but also looking at the sales tax. Missouri has over 200 sales tax exemptions right now. It is an absolute mess. Tax reform is about simplification, not just cuts. So looking at ways to simplify the sales tax system so it's a much more uniform and straightforward system. And then obviously looking at the budget side of the equation as well. It's not just about cutting taxes, it's about getting rid of unnecessary and wasteful spending in the budget, and then creating a system so you don't have the Kansas situation where you have triggers in place. You have to meet certain budget targets, certain goals in order for those lower tax rates to kick in, and they kick in over the course of several years. When you do that, you ensure you don't have those rapid revenue reductions without the accompanying budget reforms and spending reductions that are necessary to keep the budget in order. So the blueprint is out there. It's been implemented in states, and it has not only helped these states grow, it has made them true leaders on an economic basis across this country. And I think that all the information is right there. Missouri just needs to grab it and run with it, as the governor is already doing.
We are visiting with Brandon Arnold from the National Taxpayers Union. Okay, I think everything you just said is 100% correct. I also think that for the average voter out there, this is really wonky, and a lot of people are going to be scared by. But what's going to happen is we're not going to be able to fund emergency services. You like highways, don't you? You like police, don't you? You like this, that, and the other, don't you? That's what we're going to be hit with. How do we, in a very simple and truthful way, refute that argument? Because really what they're saying is we have to have government first thinking instead of people first thinking.
Yeah, I think the example that always stands out to me is comparing New York and Florida. New York used to be a larger state than Florida population-wise. They're still pretty close, but Florida is now bigger because they've attracted so many residents. On a per-person basis, Florida spends half of what New York spends, government spending per person. It's just astonishing. And people in Florida, guess what? They go to school. They've got roads without a ton of potholes. They've got public parks. They have all those core services, fire, police, you name it. In many cases, much better services than what New York is offering. So the notion that we simply need to spend more to get better government services, I think, is obliterated by that example here. Florida's attracting not just senior citizens who want to come and golf in their golden years. They're attracting businesses. They're attracting young families who want to tap into the educational resources of the state. So you can do things in a more efficient, more affordable manner, just as Florida has done. There's a reason why they're doing so well, and it's because of smart, efficient government policies, not just reckless spending cuts and everything. I get where the left is coming from there, but you can cut intelligently and deliver lower cost, higher quality services as Florida done at half the cost of New York.
Yeah, and that's one of the warnings that our state auditor, Scott Fitzpatrick, has put out, saying you have to cut spending and you have to do it in a smart way. We're actually going to talk to him tomorrow when Susie and I are in the Capitol doing the show, Brandon. And so talk about that last couple of minutes we've got here. Talk about that opportunity aspect of this. I mean, for me personally, I'm looking at how much I'm paying in taxes, and I don't want to pay that much in taxes. It really makes me mad that I have that much money taken from me by various levels of government. So that's the emotional reaction. From the policy side of it, what I'm hearing you say in that last answer is this also results in more being offered and a more robust economy and a more robust private sector and opportunity.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, we look at this from the individual side, which is obviously very, very important, but we look at this also through the business side. Businesses are looking to move to states that have more hospitable tax climates and more hospitable regulatory climates. So they're moving to states where there are right-to-work laws. They're moving to states with lower regulatory burdens. So we're moving to states with lower tax burdens. So it's all part of the equation there. They want to be able to operate, to compete. They're competing not just with businesses across the country. They're competing with businesses across the globe. And those higher state tax burdens are playing a meaningful role as we drive those down and helping these businesses succeed. So if you want a robust business climate in Missouri, and I know you do, then this has to be part of the equation, that reforming the tax code, making sure that their employees have a low, reasonable level of of taxation, and making sure the businesses can thrive, succeed, create jobs, and do all the things we want them to do.
All right, Brandon, let's go ahead and give out that contact information again. People want to see the post that y'all made, the op-ed on this, or just follow the work that you're doing. What's the way to do it?
Yeah, ntu.org. Our information out there as well as on, of course, all the major social media networks. We've got the letter posted there, and we'll be spreading it around and hopefully making a trip out to Missouri or two in coming weeks.
All right, great. Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you so much.
So Tampon Tim's political career is just about over. You can find out why. We've got that story in the news dump at 6:50.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
People talk about federal money as if it falls from heaven. You know, we thank heaven for it, but it came out of people's pockets.
On News Talk STL.
You're going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros and Exteriors, your all-in-one service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. Christine and I discovered Gutter Pros and Exteriors when we bought our home and inherited a gutter problem. And they've also repaired siding damage on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros team are also the best for repairing other exterior damage, including fascia, soffit, and all siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros and Exteriors can help your home or business right now at gutterpros.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Allman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators. They're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning here on News Talk STL.
All right, Venezuela's new leader hasn't even put her stuff on the desk yet, and she's already being told, watch your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's not bad advice.
Yeah, would you really want that gig right now?
No, I would not.
I would not want that job right now. Just saying. All right, and Missouri Democrats seem to have settled on their top priority, and that is to keep taxing you as much as possible.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm not going to be changing back.
I wonder what they're thinking, and you know what? We need a message for 2026 in the midterm election years. I know, tax them more.
Yeah.
Or keep taxing them. To be fair, they're not proposing new taxes. They're saying don't cut taxes.
Yet,
precisely. And St. Louis City's police chief now has a side gig. This is kind of interesting, and I actually don't have an issue with it. All right, 6:49 right now. Let's go ahead and do a news dump.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, President Trump is warning Venezuela's new leader to cooperate with his administration or else.
The president said Vice President Delcy Rodriguez would face a situation probably worse than Nicolas Maduro if she doesn't cooperate with the U.S. He initially praised Rodriguez on Saturday after the capture of Maduro, but told The Atlantic on Sunday that if she doesn't do what's right, she is going to pay a very big price. Later, aboard Air Force One, the president predicted Cuba's government could soon collapse, and he repeated his desire to take over Greenland. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Again, congratulations. You're now at least locally recognized as the president. But here's the other part of the job. You've got the guy who just literally invaded and captured the last guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's now breathing down your neck. So congratulations on the new gig.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, you could say maybe she ran with a rough crowd, so maybe she's used to that. I mean, Venezuela is no stranger to political strife and turmoil, hence the situation that they're in. I don't think she's, a neophyte. I don't think she's unwise to the way things work. But yeah, I think you're seeing some very tough talk from the president with the aim of trying to keep things from spiraling out of control. But I can understand why. If I don't think I would want to be in her shoes.
No.
I agree.
I would not want to. All right. Missouri Democrats say they want to block tax reform. Yeah. House Democratic leader Ashley Awney told reporters that stopping the effort to end the state's income tax is among their top priorities, if not their top priority for the year. Republicans, obviously, as you know, have a supermajority in both chambers of the legislature. So Democratic opposition to tax relief could be easily defeated if GOP lawmakers choose. The bigger concern is there a GOP lawmaker or two out there who secretly isn't wild about the idea and wants to blame Democrats while enabling something to block it?
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Republicans are basically on board here.
Yeah.
You've always got your few Republicans, the Lincoln Huff and Caleb Rowden types who are cause problems over the years. But for the most part, I think the Republicans seem to be on the same page here.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And I don't think that from a political standpoint, it makes much sense to be the outlier on this issue.
Because we'll primary your ass.
Well, I was going to say, too,
Speaking of tough talk.
Yeah, because we'll do it in this state.
Put him in alligator Alcatraz. No, but because I do think more people than in quite a while are actually paying attention to politics in a way where they're paying attention to who votes for what and who votes against what. And so I would not want to be one of the people this entire time saying we're going to reform taxes, but by the way, I voted with the Democrats to keep taxes where they are.
Yeah, because in Missouri, for the most part, the primaries are all that really matters when it comes to the state legislature. There are very, very few actual purple districts. There's one like, in the Kirkwood area, one in the Manchester area. So there's a couple around here, but for the most part, these are drawn to be clearly red or blue.
Yes.
That's just the way it is.
Right. So yeah, you're right. The primary is where it's at, and so you've got to be mindful of that. And if you're going to want to be the Republican who's taking the different tack, good luck. Good luck with that.
Exactly. All right. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz announcing he is not going to seek re-election. Speaking to reporters in St. Paul, I say speaking to reporters, he didn't take any questions. He came up there and said, I'm going to make my remarks, they'll take questions. He made his remarks, and then he walked off. They're like, hey. And all you saw was the back of his head, and he was heading out. Yep. So here's part of his explanation as to why he's not running for a third term that he had originally planned to run for.
I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences.
So there's a chance that the national exposure and focus on the massive, massive fraud under his government's watch might have had something to do with this.
Maybe.
Yeah, what I heard was the more time that I have to spend on my campaign is the less time that I have to cover up fraud and waste within the government.
Yeah.
You were reading between the lines there, weren't you? I think it's interesting that he's talking about this in the terms of defending his constituents from the people who would prey on them. And it's like, well, you weren't doing a bang-up job of that before. Exactly. So what changed, Tim? What changed?
The political calculus. So we know that he had a conversation with Senator Amy Klobuchar, who has since said that she is considering running. So basically what's happening is all the phone calls are being made to all the donors right now. That's what's happening at the moment. And I suspect we'll probably have some kind of announcement within the next 3 or 4 days would be my guess.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I do think if Amy decides to step in, which would be the smart move for her probably, it's kind of her stuff.
I think she waltzes right into the governor's mansion if that happens. All right, the city's police chief is moonlighting. Chief Robert Tracy has taken on a second job at UMSL. He's now going to be a consultant with the Department of Criminology and the Criminal Justice Center there. Now, taking the new position comes after the St. Louis Police Foundation decided to no longer contribute $100,000 a year to the chief's compensation, and that was part of the deal when he came to St. Louis. So you say, well, what's changed? Did they get mad at him? Not necessarily, from what I can tell, but with the state takeover and the state now having oversight of the police department, the chief's role just isn't the same as it used to be. So that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But either way, he had a deal to come in that includes this compensation. That's part of what he signed up for. That compensation's no longer there. So now UMSL says, well, would you consult with us? And so he's got a side gig. If it doesn't get in the way of his 9 to 5, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, that's the key. And it making sure that it doesn't get in the way of his actual job obligations. Yeah. But it sounds like it won't. And again, if he's jumping through the right hoops to do it, okay.
That's why I don't think this is the same thing as the Kimberly Gardner situation.
No,
it sounds like it's very different.
I agree. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. But I'm with you. I don't think this should be an issue.
Okay, a little more information about something you mentioned yesterday in the Tell Me Something Good segment here.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, so it is unofficially official. Today is the day you're supposed to take down the Christmas tree.
Yes.
Which you said that yesterday.
Epiphany.
Now, that's according to a very ancient Christendom tradition, today being Epiphany, like you said, which concludes the 12 days of Christmas. Historians and many theologians believe the tradition of taking all of the Christmastide would be the actual term, tradition, taking all that down dates back to a proclamation by the Council of Tours in the year 567.
Wow. How about that for some tradition?
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to take mine down today because I've got other things I got to do.
Oh, you're going to be that neighbor.
It'll happen tomorrow, guys. Sorry.
Just wait.
I got to go out of town.
Just wait long enough and then you're early.
No. We do not do that.
Okay.
We do not do that.
Got it. All right, the Blues don't play again until tomorrow. At this point, they are 17, 18, and 8, putting them in 6th place in the Central Division. They've got 42 points. The Blues are going to be in Chicago on Wednesday to play the Blackhawks. That is going to be one of the late games on the NHL tomorrow. That actually doesn't start till like 8:30 tomorrow.
Wow.
Are you ready to take a totally tubular trip down memory lane? Join us for the ultimate 80s and 90s trivia night, raising funds for the Nick Schroer for State Senate campaign. Dust off your neon, grab your friends, and test your knowledge on all the classics, from mixtapes to sitcoms, boy bands to blockbuster hits, and maybe even some political questions. It's all happening Saturday night, January 31st at the Elks Lodge in O'Fallon, Mo. Reserve your table now by emailing nick@nickschroer.com.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Severe from Vicks.
Sinex Severe Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Severe instantly relieves nasal congestion and works 6 times faster than nasal decongestant tablets. The 12 hours of relief allow you to get back to the moments that matter without congestion.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Try Sinex Severe from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
There is no room in America for this kind of conduct.
All of a sudden, they care about free speech? No, they care about dependency and control.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
She will devour the real truth like it was a light snack.
The agenda that the far left is pushing is not working for us. And I'm talking about everybody who look like me.
1019 and 94.1.
Fight for our freedom.
This is News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Congress has been briefed on the capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. It was a closed-door briefing delivered by top Trump administration officials. Maduro and his wife remain in detention in New York following their arraignment yesterday. Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says the interim Venezuelan president, Delcy Rodriguez, has been cooperating with the Trump administration.
Consulting with the president?
Well, I don't want to get, it's a good question. I don't want to get too much into details on that. But look, we have an oil embargo in Venezuela. For them to do any kind of commerce, they need our permission. We have our massive fleet, our armada, still present there. This is an active and ongoing U.S. government military operation. And of course, we set the terms and conditions.
Lawmakers in the House are expected to vote this week on overriding 2 of President Trump's vetoes.
At the end of December, the president rejected 2 GOP-backed bills that had bipartisan support. It was the first time he used his veto pen in his second term. One of the bills, for a drinking water pipeline, was sponsored by Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado, a longtime Trump ally who broke with the president over releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files. While the overrides could pass in the House, it's unclear if there would be enough votes in the Senate. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Deaths of on-duty U.S. law enforcement officers decreased by almost 25% last year, according to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. The drop from 148 in 2024 to 111 in 2025 includes decreases in officers killed by firearms, in traffic-related incidents, and in other on-duty occurrences. Updating Wall Street, the Dow futures down 38 points. NASDAQ futures 61 points higher. S&P futures are up 4. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity, and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. And now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We continue to ride this wave of unseasonably warm winter weather, once again topping out about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high sits at 60 degrees. Very nice. Pockets of clouds around this morning, but mostly sunny skies this afternoon as winds turn out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the low, and we'll keep the beautiful weather going tomorrow. Mostly sunny and a high of 62 Wednesday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. News Talk STL takes you live to Jefferson City for the 2026 Missouri Legislature opening session, Wednesday, January 7th. Mike Ferguson in the morning and former House Speaker Tim Jones and Chris Arps bring you exclusive coverage and insider access. We're live from the third floor of the Missouri Capitol beginning Wednesday morning at 5:30 and Wednesday afternoon at 3. Don't miss this special broadcast this Wednesday on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Brought to you by Americans for Prosperity.
What's the best way to get rid of a timeshare that you don't want? Call the Timeshare Exit Hotline. We're a group of attorneys that help customers legally exit their timeshares. It's an easy process. We guarantee results or you pay nothing. Exit your timeshare today. Call now.
800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Mike Ferguson.
I'm a stud.
I'm ballsy. I don't take no from anyone.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, I can't take credit for this one. A lot of people were quick to point this out on social media. Wow, you lefties went from no kings to leave that dictator alone pretty fast. I wish I could take credit for that. I wish I thought of that.
Oh,
I can't take credit for it. I just saw a bunch of other people say it. Democrats are picking yet another really interesting hill to die on.
Yes, they are.
And what's, I think, just removing my own personal opinions, being the guy on the right here, it's fascinating to me because the Democrats really have maybe had an opportunity to make some gains in 2026, and they seem to be running as far away from political opportunity as possible.
Yeah.
It's like, that would make sense. No, let me faceplant first.
It's kind of fun to watch.
It's very interesting to watch. And Chris Arps, of course, you can hear him every afternoon right here on News Talk STL. See him on Newsmax television, opining and giving his political punditry on there. What's your take on that? Let's talk about the reaction to the military strikes in Venezuela. Now, Newsmax actually just they just broadcast a poll saying that the country's fairly divided on whether or not they support what the country did in Venezuela, but there shouldn't be a lot of question as to whether or not Maduro's really a bad guy. But the Democrats and the fringe left are essentially almost looking for ways to step outside of the normal debate. I mean, there's a place to say, hey, I question whether or not we should have done this as a matter of policy or something. That's fine. But they seem to run right to the dumbest conclusion in some places.
Well, the argument that the Democrats are making is that, yeah, we want Maduro out of office, but President Trump should have came to Congress so he could get an authorization for war. And I think that's where their argument falls flat, is because this was not a war effort. Basically, the United States government, with the help of the military, was executing a warrant. Maduro has been under indictment since 2020. He is an illegitimate president of Venezuela. No one recognizes him as president. Marco Rubio said many, many times Sunday that 60-plus countries don't recognize him. Even the European Union doesn't recognize him. So I think if you put all of that in context, there was no need to go to Congress for a declaration of war. This was the execution of a warrant.
Chris, you've been an observer of politics for a long time, and you have a pretty good sense of what works and what doesn't work. What is your take on why the Democrats keep insisting on taking the 20, taking the downside of an argument?
Well, first of all, I think it's Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. I think that's the basis of all of this. Plus, as we've seen over the last few years, the Democrats' far left fringe is their base. And I think a lot of these politicians are afraid of upsetting the far left fringe base. They think that they have a great issue in 2026, which is affordability. And so they want those people motivated to come out in 2026 so they could possibly retake the House and the Senate. So I think they don't want to upset those people, but they're not looking at the big picture that this is a 50-50 country. As Mike alluded to in the poll, the country's divided on this military action. But once again, they are listening to their fringe base, and they think that's where mainstream America is. And unfortunately for them, it's not.
One of the comments that just came in on the Rumble chat box, our buddy Jay Monty said, if Trump said make breathing great again, 22 million Democrats would die trying to hold their breath and avoid breathing.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, they have Trump derangement syndrome to the max, and it's so bad that they can't see that this is not a winning issue for them, supporting open borders, supporting illegal immigrants, and supporting dictators.
Chris, what is a winning issue for them? I mean, we've talked about affordability. It seems like that might be something to go on, at least if they could get the messaging right. But what do you think if you were advising them, I know
Yeah.
you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't dream of it. But if you
Never.
were advising them, what would you tell them to do on that issue?
I think they would stick. They should stick with affordability. We're seeing prices come down a little bit, especially with gas prices. That's something that you see every day. That's something that affects most Americans. But it's going to take a while for groceries and other items that we spend money on to be lowered. I also, if I was them, I would focus on health care. With these Obamacare subsidies expiring on January 1st, we're going to see very, very soon the mainstream media putting out stories showing all of these people have lost their health care. The woman with 3 kids, one of them has cancer. She can't afford her health insurance anymore. We're going to start seeing those stories. So I think health care and affordability is probably their best 2 issues going into 2026, the midterms.
Chris, sometimes I think that it's just a race to who can outdumb the other one in Washington, D.C. How do the Republicans avoid outdumbing the Democrats in at least on the national level?
How much time we got left?
Yeah, really. For you, as much as you want.
Well, I think, this is not a popular answer. Look, I'm not in favor of Obamacare. I'm not in favor of the subsidies. These subsidies, of course, were put in during the pandemic for people that couldn't afford health insurance. But as you know, once the government gives you something, it's very, very hard to take it away. If I was advising Republicans, I would be talking about reforming these Obamacare subsidies. Make them means tested. Right now, people that make $150,000 a year are eligible for these subsidies. Right now, people don't have to pay anything for these subsidies. Let's make it reformist so people have to put some skin in the game. And I think those types of reforms you could possibly sell to Republicans, but completely passing these subsidies and not having any reforms is a losing issue. But I think you're just going to have a groundswell of media talking about all these people that don't have health insurance, and that's just going to be an uphill climb.
Chris, obviously, healthcare is going to be front and center in the discussion this year and heading into the midterms. But what else would you like to see Republicans focusing on, and perhaps getting a winning message out of?
Conquer Greenland. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Never mind. Sorry, I spoke out of turn. Good.
I think president should stick to what he has been very successful at in the first year of office, which is eliminating these illegal immigrants, rounding them up, getting them out of our country, making that an issue. We've had instances of illegal immigrants that have killed, raped, murdered. We had a situation in St. Louis last year. You remember the police officer who was working a traffic accident, and an illegal immigrant who was drunk hit him and kill him. I think that's an issue that all Americans can get behind, eliminating illegal immigrants from our country and to keep our cities and our citizens safe. I think that's a very strong issue for the president, and I think that they will continue to use that issue. We saw this week with everything that's going on in Minnesota with the Somali fraud, with the daycares and everything. The president has sent a force into Minneapolis, St. Paul to root out the illegal immigrants. I think that will be very, very popular. We also saw Mike Walls made a surprising announcement yesterday that he is not going to run for re-election. And of course, the Somali daycare fraud is a big, big part of that. So I think sticking with immigration, trying to eliminate higher prices, and fortunately for the president, with the big, beautiful bill being signed into law, the benefits of that should start to kick in here in the next few weeks and few months, which should help re-election efforts for Republicans in the midterm.
Yeah, and then our news dump, we've been having a soundbite from Governor Tim Walz on that reaction as well, visiting with Chris Arps. Okay, last couple minutes, Chris. Susie and me and Tim and you, we're doing a road trip tomorrow for the opening day of the Missouri legislative session. And this isn't just the policy wonks and the political nerds that we all tend to be. There's really, I think, a unique groundswell this time around where conservatives are saying, get big stuff done. We had some momentum last year. We want to see more. I don't think this is going to be an as usual year. What's your take so far?
No, it's definitely not going to be an as usual year because, one, it's an election year. So you're going to see a lot of posturing, a lot of people trying to get their name in the paper, get themselves in the media so they can have re-election. The big issue, of course, is state income tax reform. Governor Kehoe has made this one of key aspects that he wants to get done this year. Tim yesterday during his speaker stump speech talked about the U-Haul index, which shows where people are moving to. All of the states that surround us that don't have income taxes, that's where people are moving. Illinois is one of the states, of course, that's right next door. People are fleeing Illinois. So I think that's very, very important to try to make us competitive with these other states so we can have industries moving to St. Louis in Missouri instead of moving out of Missouri.
Yep. All right, Chris Arps, you can hear him every afternoon with Tim Jones from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock tomorrow. The afternoon show, like the morning show, we're going to be broadcasting from the Capitol as well. What's on tap for the preview of that? What you got coming up today, Tim or Chris?
Man, we're going to have a huge show. We've got a lot of guests. We're going to have Alex Riley, possibly the next speaker, or he will be.
Likely, very, very likely, yeah.
He will be a guest of ours. We're going to have Americans for Prosperity, which is sponsoring our shows tomorrow up here. Gary Hollis, he's going to be a guest. We're going to have Lieutenant Governor Dave Wassinger as a guest. We're going to have our usual Wednesday guest, Zach Smith from the Heritage Foundation. We're also going to have Scott Fawn on, who has made some news last week. He bought a couple of newspapers there in mid-Missouri. And then we're also going to have Ethan Thampy. I'm sure you guys have had him
I know
on.
Ethan, yeah.
He's going to be, he's with now Americans for Ibogaine. We're going to have a gentleman who has used Ibogaine that has helped him with his PTSD. So we've got a full show tomorrow. Can't wait to see you guys up in Jefferson City. Make sure you keep the seats warm for us when we get there.
We'll do our best. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. As we've been alluding, Mike and I are going to be doing this show tomorrow morning from Missouri's Capitol. Of course, we're going to be speaking with both legislators and state leaders. If there's something you want us to ask them, be sure to email your questions to Mike at newstalkstl.com.
Indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I like it, but they're going a little overboard with the dancing.
On News Talk STL. Columbo and Company.
2026 has started fast and furious, and we're here to keep you informed on everything going on. Tuesday, we'll break down the latest headlines with Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. 800-439-7851. That's 800-439-7851.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me for the Right Mind Show on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this wacky radio station. And speaking of wacky, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, is the Hilton hotel chain about to get the Bud Light treatment? Did you see this?
Yeah, a little bit of it.
Oh, okay. This was interesting. So Department of Homeland Security put this up on social media. So this is coming directly from them with the screenshots, with the receipts. Okay. So a Hilton franchisee, and that's an important word to this story here, canceled reservations for ICE agents in Minnesota, it turns out, because originally they weren't saying exactly where it was, but we now know it was in Minnesota. And they canceled those reservations for ICE agents because they're ICE agents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so let me get, because I've actually got the screenshots. Here it is. Yeah. And so this is January 2nd. I mean, literally just a few days ago. And the note that came from somebody at that Hilton.com address said, after further investigation online, we have found information about your immigration work connected with your name, and we will be canceling your upcoming reservation. You should see a proper cancellation email in your inbox shortly from Hilton. And the original email said, this email is in regards to the reservation you made with the Hampton Inn Lakeville property. We have noticed an influx of .gov reservations made today that have been for DHS, and we are not allowing any ICE or immigration agents to stay at our property. If you are with DHS or immigration, let us know, as we will have to cancel your reservation. Please pass on this info to your coworkers that we are not allowing any immigration agents to house on our property. And that was the response that was actually sent to agents who were making. So this particular location, which is a franchise,
yes,
and there's a reason that I'm emphasizing that,
right,
but they flat out said, you ain't allowed here if you're going to enforce immigration law.
I wonder if they've consulted with Hannah Dugan.
That's all right.
No, not that that was illegal, but a very unwise approach.
Right. So Senator Tommy Tuberville was on the Will Cain show on Fox last night responding to this news, and here's part of what he had to say about that.
You can understand some independent agency doing this, and I don't know whether Hilton had anything to do with it or not, but obviously they're going to have to get all their ducks in a row when it comes to this, because this can't happen. I mean, this is a free country. This cannot happen. We cannot. We have to treat everybody the same in this country.
Okay, so Hilton is now in crisis mode. Now, you would think, because they pointed out, they said, this is a franchise, this is independently owned,
Mm-hmm.
this is not our policy, we welcome everybody, this isn't our thing. And the bottom line is they've looked around over the last couple of years and they saw what happened with Bud Light. They saw what happened with Target.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen what happened with some of these other companies that have taken wildly woke leftist positions and how the market has punished them. So Hilton is kind of in a tailspin right now because you got somebody at the corporate office going, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
They said what in an actual email, and then they see this posted on by the Department of Homeland Security.
Uh-huh. I would have to believe that in their franchise agreements, there are certain stipulations as far as what you may and may not say as a, essentially the face of the company, even if you are not technically the company, but you're, to get your franchise license, you got to agree to abide by certain standards, such as not saying something that's idiotic. Right. And so they're now saying that they're working with that local owner and trying to fix it. So the Hilton company itself is trying to rush out and mitigate the damage. Even if the corporate office didn't know about it, should they just expect to take the gut punch? I mean, yeah, to an extent, that's part of being in business and having, franchises and people that represent you that you can't control 24/7. I mean, I think there's a way to address it and do so in a way that's not going to alienate a big chunk of their customer base. If they're smart, that's what they'll do. Doesn't sound like they're trying to double down or anything like that.
No. The Hilton corporate folks, they threw the local owners under the bus.
I would like to know more about the local owners because
it's owned by four people from India.
I was going to say
they may be American citizens. I don't know.
Assumption is that either the ownership and or staff are largely immigrants.
Yes,
maybe all here legally, but maybe super sensitive to the idea of immigration enforcement. So I can kind of get where they're coming from, but that doesn't work in this setting. Right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, having worked at a number of hotels in both Missouri and Illinois, an ICE raid can definitely put a couple of them temporarily out of business for quite a while.
Sure.
Behind the scenes, a lot of what goes on is not necessarily above board, but since this is the response, then the people that already have an issue with illegal immigration that are pro-ICE may be wondering, well, what kind of people do you have hiring there? I don't want to be giving my money to somebody that might have illegals on their payroll, and you have to sort of address that issue if nothing else.
Absolutely.
See, and this has opened up that question, because when I first saw the headline and I first saw the post from DHS, the first thing I thought is, oh, you're just decided you want to be woke activist at your local level. Well, you know what? Here's the libertarian in me, the property rights guy in me. You've got a right to do that. Now, by public accommodation laws, maybe you don't, but in my mind, conceptually, it's your property, it's private property. You've got the right to be a bigot if you want. Thank you for telling the rest of us.
Exactly. Now we know not to patronize you. Good luck with your business.
Right. So the response, though, has been nationwide. It's not just when I'm in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area, I'm not going to go to this one.
Yeah.
Hilton is dealing with all across the country, people canceling reservations, people canceling their rewards memberships, people canceling, I guess there's like a Hilton credit card that's out there. So all of these Hilton things, Hilton honors and all these, people are canceling those, and the corporate office is going, it wasn't us.
So I want to point something out. Two things. Number one, Minnesota has really become like the center of the universe because Target's based in Minnesota too. Setting that aside, I boycotted Target for a long, long time. And that was, Target was...
I still don't go there.
I was there twice a week at least for years. It was my go-to. I had my Circle card. I had everything. And I didn't go to Target for 2 years. I now will go occasionally because they've moderated their stance a little bit. And sometimes it's just the most convenient place to go for something. But it's not my go-to anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. But that was aimed at Target. I'm a Hilton Honors member. I don't travel that much, but I'm not feeling this directed at the Hilton corporate level. So my instinct isn't to, pound my fist and cancel my membership over this.
Because the corporate ownership has made really clear. They're like, we didn't do this. These were the locals here, and we're dealing with them. So they're actually trying to do the crisis PR thing right.
Now, Scooter says, who wants to stay at a hotel where they are staging law enforcement operations in the parking lot or allowing them to roam around the hotel? That there are a lot of common sense reasons where a business wouldn't want a group like ICE or maybe a SWAT team or something of that nature to be concentrated station up there.
Wouldn't bother me as long as they're not partying too
Allowing
late.
them to roam around the hotel? What does he think they are, feral kittens?
Well, because I can... Again, probably more so the lower income areas where they have like the Motel 6s and those sorts of, cheaper, that would probably be where you would be more concerned because of.
But that customer base didn't go to the Hilton.
Yes. So, I can't imagine that anybody that has Hilton money, or at least to stay there, is going to have a complaint unless there's something nefarious going on that they don't want being.
Yeah, I mean, if I drive we've got rooms reserved tonight in Jeff City, you and me, and I don't know when Chris and Tib are going down, and our boss Jeff, and so if I drive up there and there are a bunch of law enforcement vehicles parked all in there, and like they're all staying there, it doesn't bother me. If anything else, I'm fine.
For me, it's like good, great.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm extra safe.
I will say that there have been times I pulled up to a restaurant and I saw an ambulance parked there, and I went, "Ooh, no, maybe I'm
maybe
going to
not."
go there." And that was probably just the paramedics having dinner. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not, man,
But I mean, does he think they're going to be patrolling the halls? They're staying there. They're staying there because they're going to be doing some enforcement operations, but does he think they're going to be doing it in the hotel?
Well, again, depending on the area where this specific Hilton's at, I mean, a lot of Democrat and left-leaning people already view ICE as like Gestapo thugs, and that sort of fear mentality is already within them. So if you see, I mean, I know people, even if they just see a cop car parked, doing nothing at all. They think that there's something nefarious, there's going to be an issue, an altercation, and that's it. So
Now,
maybe it's just a mindset thing.
But with the email that DHS did the screenshot and released, it was very clear. We oppose your work against
your kind
illegal
is not
aliens.
welcome here.
Your kind is not welcome here. You are not allowed to be here because you are enforcing immigration laws. And so the locals did that. And I would even argue, like I said, it's your private property. I think you've got a right to do business with who you want to and not do business with who you don't want to.
Right, but then there's going to be ramifications of that.
But there are consequences for that. And right now, every other Hilton in the country is like, what the heck is happening right now? Why did my vacancy just go from 15% to 24% or whatever it is?
Oof. All right, News Talk STL family, let's make your voice even louder. If you're watching the show on our stream right now, please share or repost us now and let your friends and followers know it's go time in Missouri and nationally. So let's get the word out.
It's a place that leaves no regrets. Cross the border down to Mexico. Yeah!
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men.
His remarks are racist.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We continue to ride this wave of unseasonably warm winter weather, once again topping out about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high sits at 60 degrees. Very nice. Pockets of clouds around this morning, but mostly sunny skies this afternoon as winds turn out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the low, and we'll keep the beautiful weather going tomorrow. Mostly sunny and a high of 62 Wednesday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
Today, a history lesson. More than 30 years ago, Panama was under the control of Manuel Noriega. President George H.W. Bush worried about the security of the Panama Canal, and Noriega shipping drugs through the canal. Bush sent more than 20,000 troops to capture and remove him from power. But he slipped away, driving through the Panamanian streets, evading capture, eventually taking refuge in the Vatican Embassy, December 24. The U.S. forces could not storm that embassy, but they surrounded it, blasting music 24/7, Alice Cooper and Black Sabbath and other songs. Well, that was enough to force Noriega to give up. January 3rd, and then he was taken into custody, brought back to the States for trial. His attorneys claim Noriega had immunity and Bush had violated international law. Then Justice Department counsel William Barr issued a memo stating Bush had, quote, inherent constitutional authority to capture criminals even if it violated international law. Look for that to come into play dealing with Maduro. What happened to Noriega? He was convicted, sentenced to 40 years, spending the rest of his life in prison until his death, 2017.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives. It's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at BluffCityOutdoors.com.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
Enough. No drugs, no theft, none of that. Get all of that out of the country. The Democrat Party is gone. It hates the country. It hates the Constitution.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
Tim was the first one I heard who said this, so I think he coined it, but he calls election years campaign silly season.
Mm-hmm. It's very appropriate.
So much truth to that.
So very.
Yeah. All right. All politics is local. That's the old saying.
That's the old saying.
Still a lot of truth to that. I don't think it's as true as it used to be because of technology and communications and social media and everything. But in 2026, I think a key part is somewhere in the middle. The key part is probably at the state level.
Yeah.
Really, both from federal government to us, but then also other way around. And obviously local governments, right now are either fighting or asking for help from state government.
True.
So at least in Missouri, also in Illinois, state government, I think, is really where it's at. Not that local government does matter. Local government's crucial, which is why the April elections are so overlooked and neglected.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue they probably affect you even more directly than the races for Congress.
Probably.
And I say that every year, and people go, oh, yeah, that's probably true. And then they forget that there's an April election for mayor or city council or school board, and then they wonder why the dolts get elected. Well, because you're not paying attention.
Because you're not paying attention. You're not voting.
That's why.
Go vote.
So, but state really is where it's at. We'll talk about why I think that's crucial right now, especially as we're headed to the Capitol tomorrow. But there is so much news to keep up with. A lot of that around the country, around the world. I guess, Susie, good thing we've got a one-stop shop for that. So, Susie, what is hot on Red State today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
I will tell you, there's a lot hot on Red State today. We've had a lot of articles go up this morning, and so I encourage people to go check them out. It's kind of on a wide variety of topics, but a key one right now is from our friend Jennifer Oliver O'Connell about this left-wing journo who thought it was his job to expose the Delta Force commander who took down Maduro, and that backfired spectacularly on that journo. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, he thought he was being all that in a bag of chips, but no.
Okay.
He learned the hard way.
So he was hoping that the Delta Force commander was going to be politically correct or something?
Yeah, well, and he actually doxed the wrong guy in the process,
Ooh.
and then tried to justify it all. So
When you're going to pick a fight, think about who you pick a fight with.
yeah, it's not very wise.
Ooh.
Jennifer's got another top story for us today about the Corporation for Public Broadcasting,
We're gonna
which
talk
I think
about-
we're going to
we're
talk
gonna
about
talk about
later.
this in a little bit, yeah.
She says they're officially dissolved. Let's salt the earth where it stood. So check that article out. It might be a little salty from Jennifer. And last but not least, Senator Rand Paul he's really dug in on this Quiet Skies program, and he came out today with a further expose on the Biden administration's no-fly nightmare for January 6th dissenters and people who were wrongly lumped into that group and surveilled inappropriately. So check that one out. It's from Ward Clark.
All right, redstate.com, of course. All right, as we keep mentioning all this week, so we're doing the show tomorrow from the Capitol. And listen, I've been to the Capitol a lot, so it's not like, ooh, look at us from the Capitol. Anybody can walk into the Capitol. You can go to the
there.
Capitol. And, yeah, you worked there for a long time. But here's the thing to keep an eye on. We're getting a preview and kind of taking the pulse of what's happening in the legislature, and you can just do that easier from there, which actually we're having a bureau. We've got a NewsTalkSTL
Yes.
bureau and mini studio in the Capitol now. So that's what basically the name that's being built for NewsTalkSTL. One thing to keep an eye on here, and I don't know how real this is or how much this is leftist media and Democrats trying to manifest something, but I've heard reports on tension in the state Senate, and what they mean is tension among the Republicans in the state Senate. I don't know how much that's still true. Now, I'm going to be asking around tomorrow when we're in the halls tomorrow. But
Are you tense? How are you feeling?
Yeah, really, exactly.
Sorry.
So that is the one variable that media keeps wanting to put up there. And the Missouri Independent is the one that wrote the article. They got picked up by everybody else. And so I don't know if that is them reporting on good faith what they found, or them trying to
stir the
pot up on there. So the key point here, and this is what we keep coming back to, conservatives, I'm not just saying Republicans, conservatives in Missouri are expecting to get big conservative things done this year. Because 2025, we actually saw some good things done.
Yep.
After a number of years of being really disappointed. After a number of years of being Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football. So 2025 was a lot better. And I think conservatives, instead of just saying we're appreciative of what did get done, are saying, okay, now you know you can do it. Let's get some other stuff done now, and we mean it. Don't forget, you work for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, now is the time. If not now, when? So, yes, we do expect results, and tensions or no, that's what you were elected to do.
I don't know how, and I just don't know how much the tension thing in the Senate is real. Now, I do know there's a couple people that rub each other the wrong way. I happen to know that. But you're going to have that anywhere on this.
Any organization's going to have that.
But what we also have is, and I've disagreed with Governor Kehoe on a couple of things, but overall, I'm pretty much think he's on the right track. I disagree with him on the stadium thing, but I love a lot of the other work that he's doing. And I think what you have is a leader that we did not have before.
Yeah.
And that makes a massive, massive difference.
Yes. Yeah. There's a different attitude. There's a different vibe. There's a different energy level.
Right. And different level of communication from what I'm being told in the legislature is they're saying, we're hearing from him. We're hearing from his staff. We're meeting with them. We're on the same page.
That's a good thing.
It's a very, very good thing. And that shows a stronger executive, not necessarily stronger as in big government, but stronger as in I'm setting the tone. Let's get on the same page, trying to get lawmakers to buy into what he's looking to do. And the lawmakers, I think, really feel like they've got a teammate.
Yes.
As opposed to, and again, I don't think Mike Parson was opposing the conservatives. He was just kind of there, and he didn't do any hurting of the cats.
Right.
And then you had all of the bee slapping each other in the legislature, in the state Senate, on the, between.
I just don't think he was leading.
No, he wasn't. He was just kind of there.
He was presiding.
Yeah. I mean, and Mike Parson, I think, was the right guy for the moment after the Eric Greitens debacle.
Yeah.
Because
we needed a little calmness.
Right. You needed a little aw shucks. Well, it'll all be okay.
Yeah.
And remember, his legacy is appointing. Look at how many people he appointed, and he made very good picks.
He did. Now, he missed the boat by not appointing me to be a judge in St. Charles.
I agree.
That's my one beef with him.
But the benefit of that is you're here now.
It's true.
You can
Silver
just judge
lining.
me silently.
Or not silently.
That's right. That's true. Or out loud. Yeah. And so, Mike Parson does have a positive part to his legacy.
Does.
But other than that, he really wasn't the strongest governor. Very nice guy.
Very nice.
But I'm happy that he's in retirement.
Yes.
And I mean that in a positive way.
And I'm so far liking what I'm seeing out of Mike Kehoe.
So far, yeah. I think a lot of conservatives have been pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the stadium thing notwithstanding, which is all kind of a moot point anyway.
Yep.
But I think Governor Kehoe is setting a very solid conservative tone. He has not shied away from things like the Second Amendment. He's not shied away from the pro-life issue. I think he is establishing himself as a good leader who has the potential to be a very strong conservative leader in the state, but also a strong conservative voice around the country.
Yeah, he just got an attaboy last week from President Trump. I
Did
can't remember what the issue was, but he got a little congrats to Governor Mike Kehoe, who's doing great work, that sort of thing.
Okay, so we're going to have a number of lawmakers. Governor Kehoe will be on the show with us.
Yes, he will.
Tomorrow. He's going to join us. Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick also going to be on the show with us as well. So if you have a question you want me to ask any state lawmakers, one of our statewide officials, email. I guess you can email either one of us, I guess.
Sure.
So it's either Mike, M-I-K-E, or Susie, S-U-S-I-E.
Correct.
Mike or Susie at NewsTalkSTL.com. That's probably easier because I can pull that right off my phone.
Yep.
Instead of putting it on social media. Email me with a question, and we'll try to get to as many of those throughout the day as possible.
Yeah, and if you are among those that visit us on our stream, well, hello. You can also leave a comment on our social media platforms, and we will. I'll go ahead and forward those to Mike and Susie. Now, I've been wondering though. Do you remember those cuts to public broadcasting that was announced? Well, we're seeing the next step in the results of that. We'll explain at 7:50.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
And love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, chalk up another win for the Trump administration. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting votes to go away. Well said.
Oh, wait, they had options. They didn't have to do that.
No.
But they chose that.
Do you think they just saw the writing on the wall?
I guess.
Now, remember, this is not NPR or PBS voting to go away. This is the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to go away. So why would that be significant? I know you're covering this on RedState, obviously.
Well, because that's the parent company that oversees those networks.
That basically funnels the money to it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, they filed a status report with the court that basically said, well, we're waving the white flag, we're going away. But they didn't do any. They didn't seek any alternative funding. They didn't seek any way to stay alive. They basically just said, if we can't have the government money, we're out.
Yeah, and they took a cut of what, like $9 million or something like. It really wasn't a huge amount that they had cut, and even that was more than they could handle. And so we told you at the time, the NPR and the PBS stations around the country that got funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and now don't get funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, for the most part, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. Channel 9's not going anywhere. I had a friend years ago when I was living in another city. He worked at the local PBS station. Actually, really good guy, very good at what he did. 100% justified, the money that was spent. But then again, they had no problem finding private grants to sponsor his program, which was a public affairs program. And he was very good and very objective at it. Very rare in a PBS setting.
Yeah.
And so the market said, oh, we want to keep that on the air. And I was having lunch with him one time. And of course, it's like they have to have a token European person to do local program. I think that's like a rule at NPR and PBS. So I'm having lunch with Nick, and the Republicans were blustering back at that time about, ending funding for PBS and NPR, which they did every once in a while. Donald Trump just finally did it.
Yep.
And he shrugged and he goes, every time Republicans make a stink about cutting our funding, our donations go straight up. He said, so we don't mind when Republicans do that. Now, he was talking locally here.
Sure.
He goes, sure, they have to, make their campaign and have to. They said, but our donations go up when that happens.
Yeah.
Which tells you, okay, if there's a market for it, then they'll be fine.
They'll be fine.
If there's no market for it,
then why are we doing it? What are we propping up?
That's right. Now, what's interesting is there have been a lot of PBS and NPR stations that have had to do cutbacks. They've had to do layoffs.
Okay.
Guess what? So have just about every business in the private sector.
Yeah. I mean, that's not unique to public broadcasting. That's true in the media. It's true, like you said, in pretty much every sector.
That's the real world right now.
That's called economy, and that's called the reality of it.
Now, what's interesting is that there have been some stations, particularly radio stations, that have disaffiliated from NPR. Now, I don't think they're changing their programming. They're still going to be a quote-unquote public radio station, but they've decided to disaffiliate because of the cost of the affiliation. There's a fee that you pay,
I'm sure,
for that if PBS doesn't actually own the station. And so some of them have done that and gone their separate way and probably just pay for the programming separately and that sort of thing. So it's forcing them to reevaluate their business model because the gravy train is cut off. And all of this came from that discussion out of the Doge issue.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is one example where Doge worked and we should have done more of the Doge cuts.
Yeah. No, I mean, it actually is showing things working the way they should and government being responsive to the people that are funding it. What a novel concept.
Imagine that. And I checked this morning just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But as of this morning, not one single PBS, not one single NPR station has gone off the air because of the funding cuts. Now, your reaction may be, oh, that's too bad. Well, give it time. Maybe some will.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't have to watch it. But now you also don't have to fund it.
That's the important part of it.
Yay, win-win.
And so what'll happen is they either have to become broader in their perspectives and reach out to more of the market, or they just simply have to find other people to fund, the left-wing, aspect of it.
Yeah.
I had a radio consultant years ago tell me, he said, when you look at the funding of the typical NPR station, for instance, you look at their, not just Corporation for Public Broadcasting, but you look at typical NPR station often are owned by colleges or universities. That's pretty normal.
Sure.
And a lot of PBS stations are the same way. But he was looking at NPR, he was looking at radio. He said, you know where most of their funding comes from? And I'm like, I'm sure you're going to tell me. He said from within a half mile of the station because they're on the university campus. And then what happens is the funding and the grants from all these departments and school of this, that, and the other, they get funneled right into there to keep that station and that viewpoint on the air.
Yeah, I was listening to some NPR on my way home from Illinois just because that was among the only stations I could actually get signal for. I was letting my phone charge. We were also be listening to the NewsTalkSTL app, obviously. But a lot of the rotating commercials were like, we need donations from the public. That's what keeps us on air. And I can't imagine people are not donating to PBS and NPR for their funding. So if that's the case and there is that demand, then why does the government subsidizing essentially the programming really matter besides the fact that it's sort of a propaganda arm of the DNC?
Well, you may have just answered your own question there.
Right. Yeah. Well, but also compare back to over 30 years ago. So I'm going to go back to before you were born. We had NBC, CBS, ABC, and PBS.
Yes.
Before, but typically that's what people had. I remember the days.
We had KPLR. We had a couple.
Well,
locals.
that's right. Here locally, you had KPLR. Chicago, you'd have WGN
Right.
and those sorts of things.
But yeah, that was
That was it.
Slim pickings.
Right. And so even back then, there were some Republicans that were getting a little, irritated with PBS. And then they came out with a campaign, I want to say back in the 90s, or maybe it was early 2000s, where they said, if PBS doesn't do it, who will? And they actually ran that campaign, and this was not even 20 years ago. If PBS doesn't do it, who will?
I have a snarky joke.
Because the answer for most people was, I don't know, the History Channel, the Weather Channel, and they listed, every single specialty channel out there,
right?
HGTV, and everything is like there's lots of places.
Yeah,
to do
there's
that.
plenty. No, I was just thinking about the joke about jobs Americans won't do. Like, you gotta have illegal immigration so that someone will run the PBS station.
That's right.
I don't know. It's the same song and dance, and it's just trying to justify government expenditures. And look, we're not in a situation where we've got money to throw at everything, and we shouldn't be doing that.
And this is a massive victory. And I started off the segment saying this is a victory for Donald Trump, and it is.
It is.
But this is also one of the victories I think that conservatives can claim, because not everything
Yes.
Donald Trump does is conservative. But in this case, he was spot on, and he followed through. And guess what? The world didn't end when some spending got cut.
Shh. The secret's out.
Well, that was the interesting thing as well when the PBS defunding got announced. There are people that I know personally that are like, well, are you guys going to be affected? I'm like, well, no, we rely on actually providing doing a business. We are privately owned. And everybody that I've met so far that's outraged by the cuts to PBS and NPR, they don't listen or consume it.
Right.
So, yeah, it's funny how that works.
And see, that's the other question is, do they donate?
Right.
And the ones that I've met personally
Right.
do not, but they are mad that it's going away because somebody out there might be.
Someone else needs it, and it's it's a virtue signal to champion it, I guess.
Yes. So anyway, this is one where I was frustrated to see the demise of Doge so early.
But it's not really dud.
Technically, but
no,
they're not really doing much.
They're doing it within each of the agencies.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's been internalized into the agencies. Yeah, no, it still lives on.
Yeah, because we got all of these. Hey, here's $1 billion here, $1 billion there.
It just doesn't have a lawn with a chainsaw in front of it. No, it's still the principles are still there, and they're being implemented by the agencies.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
because I do this for a living, and I didn't even know that because we just kind of saw them shrink out of the.
Well, we would like to see Congress also codify a lot of that as well.
100%. Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. Yep.
NewsTalkSTL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on NewsTalkSTL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a two-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
Producer Joey V from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show here, reminding you don't waste a buck on movies that suck. Tune in to Joey V's Movies, Fridays at 5:45 for reviews you can trust. Brought to you by Harry J's Steakhouse and Ami's Pizza.
When it's important to you,
what St. Louis is talking about.
It's on News Talk STL.
The Trump administration is celebrating an economic boost and crediting international investments in the U.S.
We're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
A lot of the effects are not going to be seen until 2026.
News, analysis, opinion.
We're going to have a gigantic refund year. I think households could see $1,000, $2,000 refunds.
101.9 and 94.1.
My talk station.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. The U.S. capture and removal of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has not led to regime change in the South American country. Maduro's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez is now interim president.
Rodriguez was part of a group of senior officials in Maduro's administration that now appears to control Venezuela and had previously overseen much of Venezuela's oil-dependent economy and its intelligence service.
Correspondent Luke Garrett, Maduro and his wife, detained in New York, have pleaded not guilty to a host of charges, including narco-terrorism, conspiracy, and weapons-related charges. Cross-country demonstrations continue claiming lives in Iran. People are taking to the streets over the country's crumbling economy.
The US-based human rights activist news agency estimates the death toll in violence surrounding protests in Iran has risen to at least 35. The agency adds more than 1,200 people have been detained in the protests, which have been ongoing for more than a week. It's clarified that 29 protesters, 4 children and 2 members of Iran's security forces have been killed. The group, which relies on a network inside of Iran for its reporting, has been accurate in past unrests. The semi-official Fars news agency, believed close to Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard, says some 250 police officers and over 40 members of the Guard's volunteer group have been hurt. I'm Charles Philadelphia.
The Department of Health and Human Services is out with revised guidelines on childhood vaccinations. Hepatitis and meningitis, RSV, and flu shots no longer recommended for every child. The U.S. recommendations are now more in line with what vaccines are recommended for European youngsters. On Wall Street, the Dow futures down 50 points, NASDAQ futures up 30. More on these stories at townhall.com.
They say timing is everything in the gold and silver markets, and it's true. Dennis Prager here for AmFed Coin and Bullion. Although you can buy at the right time, if you buy the wrong coins, you may not make a profit. When gold was $400 an ounce, many people were talked into buying high-grade old gold and silver collector's coins. Unfortunately, most of the people who bought these so-called semi-numismatic coins, like the $20 St. Gaudens and Liberty Head gold coins, have not broken even on their investment. Incredible, given that gold has risen approximately 525% since then. So while timing is everything, if you buy the wrong coins, the timing simply doesn't matter. Having a dealer who cares about positioning you in the right types of coins or bullion will mean more to your portfolio than anything else. That's why I deal with Nick Rovich and AmFed Coin and Bullion. Whether you're buying or selling, call 800-221-7694. That's 800-221-7694. Or go to AmericanFederal.com. AmericanFederal.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We continue to ride this wave of unseasonably warm winter weather, once again topping out about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high sits at 60 degrees. Very nice. Pockets of clouds around this morning, but mostly sunny skies this afternoon as winds turn out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the low, and we'll keep the beautiful weather going tomorrow. Mostly sunny and a high of 62 Wednesday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. NewsTalkSTL takes you live to Jefferson City for the 2026 Missouri Legislature opening session, Wednesday, January 7th. Mike Ferguson in the morning and former House Speaker Tim Jones and Chris Arps bring you exclusive coverage and insider access. We're live from the third floor of the Missouri Capitol beginning Wednesday morning at 5:30 and Wednesday afternoon at 3. Don't miss this special broadcast this Wednesday on 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalkSTL. Brought to you by Americans for Prosperity.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
Mike Ferguson.
Shut this sucker down.
Susie Moore.
I disagree on his assessment of the situation.
Get up, in case you hear the alarm. Get up, St. Louis.
You're not supposed to lie, but you're definitely not supposed to lie when you're under oath.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, so long, Tim. America's probably third worst, maybe fourth worst governor. Depends on where you put Kathy Hochul.
Yeah, he's he's in the running.
He's got to be, I would say, third or fourth worst. I mean, you got Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker vying for number one.
Right.
Then where do you put Walz and Hochul?
Yeah, they're kind of neck and neck.
Yeah, all right. So he is calling it quits, and I would say this is most likely for the political career. I mean, anything can happen in politics, but he is saying he is done, and he is mad because it is those mean old Republicans' fault.
Yeah. Maybe he can go teach in China.
Maybe. All right, so we'll get to that in just a second, but we do have an update to what we were just talking about.
We do.
If, in case you missed the story, a Hilton hotel or a Hilton franchise in Minnesota was busted for saying, you DHS ICE agent, we don't want your kind here because of your enforcing laws on immigrations, and they canceled their reservations, explicitly saying it's because you are doing immigration enforcement.
Correct.
And this was a franchise operation in Minnesota, and the Hilton company has responded.
Yeah. Now, they responded initially yesterday with some kind of corporate speak, but it was distancing themselves from the franchise.
It was buying themselves time so they could figure out what they were getting hammered with, because they were caught off guard by this.
But now they've officially responded.
Okay, what'd they say?
What they said is the independent hotel owner had assured us that they had fixed this problem and published a message confirming this. A recent video clearly raises concerns that they are not meeting our standards and values. As such, we are taking immediate action to remove this hotel from our systems. Hilton is and always has been a welcoming place, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So they're cutting ties.
Wow. So the hotel owners no longer are going to have the Hilton affiliation. So
speaking of you're not welcome here.
Yeah. Good. So you know what? Good on the Hilton company for responding that way. That's why I wanted to say this was a franchisee. This was a local organization. So there's the update, because I want you to have all the information.
Correct.
All right. We're now joined by Teri, Christoph from RedState.
Yay.
And Teri, appreciate you being back on the show here. So Tampon Tim decides not to run for real. Oh, I can't. I'm not supposed to say that. I'm sorry.
Why?
Tim Walz. So Tim Walz says, I'm not running for re-election. And he is at least transparent enough to say it's because of all these political headaches. I can't, focus on what he called my personal political goals and do his job as governor. But the reality is that he's just been beaten by the Republicans because of how bad he is.
Oh, absolutely. He is definitely the target of a few efforts by the federal government and the Trump administration to bring some accountability to what's going on there. It's interesting how every story is leading back to Minnesota today, like crazy hotels, crazy governors. But yeah, he put out, because Tim's a victim, most of all, he's a Democrat, so he's a victim. He sat with his family over the holidays, and he, considered what was best, because he's such a giving guy, what's best for everybody else, not for him. And boy, he decided that Trump has really kind of made it impossible for him to run for re-election. It's never Tim Walz's fault for what's going on with Tim Walz, but it's somebody else's. So yeah, So it was a bit surprising to me. I wasn't expecting anything like this, but in digging a little deeper, even before Nick Shirley's blockbuster video exposing the fraud in Minnesota hit the internet, his poll numbers, his approval rating was pretty much tanking. So he was already not really very popular with the people. And I think the Nick Shirley video I think in a matter of weeks, Tim Walz's career, his political career, just went into the flaming dumpster fire.
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy, right, Teri?
Seriously.
I'm wondering how much blowback this will have on, for instance, the DNC and Kamala Harris, because, he was their choice. He's who they decided that was going to be a great vice presidential candidate just last year. Do you see this, basically, I don't know, having lasting effects on other parties in relation to this?
I mean, it should have an effect on Kamala Harris, who still at this point leads, I think, by a pretty significant amount in polling about who are the front runners for 2028 for Democrats. Like, she still has a pretty sizable lead over Newsom and Buttigieg and all the other ones. It should be, a millstone around their neck, but it's the Democrats, though. There's no weirdness. I'm from Virginia. There's no corruptness that they won't embrace. So I don't think it ultimately does affect her. I think more for her, it's going to be what she knew about Biden and his decline than anything, but it should. Now, whether this affects their fundraising, whether the story of this fraud, this rampant fraud, catches fire nationwide, the DNC was having a terrible time with money. They had to pay off a lot of debt that Tim and Kamala racked up during their 107 days of running for office. And they entered last year in terrible shape, and they ended the year having to take out a loan to pay off those debts. So there's a lot of baggage there. But, like I said, I'm from Virginia. There's nothing so bad that a Democrat can't be elected, So that's my take on it. But I do think it's interesting, and I do think it's interesting to there's speculation that Amy Klobuchar might leave the Senate to run for governor. There's a lot of people doing that, leaving Capitol Hill and running for governor, so I wouldn't be surprised. But there's also these little whispers, would she then turn around and appoint Tim Walz to her Senate seat? So there's some craziness that could still happen.
So, Teri, when it comes to the downfall here of Tim Walz, how much of this is just the imagery is so bad, the corruption on the video, and we all see it, and there's that guttural reaction from the public? How much of it is that versus how much of it could also be, but they're not done investigating the actual corruption? Is there possibly something deeper that's not outward facing, but that is internal corruption, possibly criminal facing?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Democrats are saying right now. Nobody's accused Tim Walz of anything. He didn't do anything wrong. Nobody's done anything. But obviously, they're looking very closely at that. And I think a damning piece of information would be that people were indicted, convicted. People have been put in jail over some of this fraud, the Feeding Our Families fraud. That lady is in jail. She was convicted. So it's been several years that this was a known problem. And obviously what Nick Shirley's video shows is that nothing was done to make sure it wasn't still happening or to rein it in. And I think that is a pretty damning thing against Tim Walz and his future ambitions, whatever they might be. Hopefully it's retirement. He goes with his weirdo wife and we don't have to see them anymore. But I would have to think that he might have an inkling that maybe there is something that he did wrong.
Teri, you can't see him, but Mike just did the very dramatic turn the page gesture, and I did see on Twitter yesterday. I'm sorry, X. That was like, "Welcome to National Turn the Page Day."
Yes, and in fact, I'm writing an article, an ode to Gwen Walz today because I was very taken with her during the election. She was an interesting lady, so I wanted to take a look back and say maybe head off into the sunset. I don't know where they're going from here. Like I said, with Democrats these days, you just never know. There's the bar cannot go any lower. So you never know what's going to happen.
An ode to Gwen, ode to burning tires.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, yes. We will talk about that. I mean, they're a strange couple. And I did see a lot of lamenting yesterday that this is the route that Kamala and the Democrats took in 2024 instead of like a a Governor Shapiro or somebody that might have a little bit more broad appeal. Is it such a weirdo with the hands and the legs and all of that? So there might be some lamenting, but I mean, being a Democrat is never having to own up to, having made bad choices. So
Well, but
I don't know. I think he's done. I think he's cooked.
Yeah, and Terry, I don't think it's a matter of the Democrats don't have anybody who's marketable. I think there are Democrats. You mentioned Governor Josh Shapiro. I would look at Governor Andy Beshear. These are people who could win over a lot of independent and moderate and centrist and maybe even a few center-right voters. I think they've got the candidates. I just don't know that their fringe base is smart enough to go for the winning candidates. They would rather go with the Tim Walzes and the Kathy Hochul's and the J.B. Pritzkers and the Gavin Newsoms.
Yeah, and until they're able and have the guts to stand up to that fringe base, I think we're going to see more of the same. That's why I think 2026 is going to be an interesting year, because the progressive candidates are all the rage, and they're weird and they're scary and they've got terrible ideas. So it's going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, it really is. All right, Teri Christoph, you can find her work at RedState.com. And we've tagged you on social media already, Teri, but people want to look you up. What's the way to find you?
Yep, I'm at Teri Christoph. It's a weird spelling, so just go over to RedState. You'll figure it out. There's links and all stuff there. But yeah, go to RedState and get all the latest.
Thanks, Teri.
Thanks, Teri.
Thank you.
All right, Susie and I are going to be doing tomorrow's show from the state capitol as lawmakers begin the 2026 legislative session. So we're going to be speaking with a number of lawmakers. I just got an email from another lawmaker who goes, hey, you're going to be there? Let me stop by. And also some statewide leaders, including Governor Kehoe, is going to be on the program tomorrow. So let me and Susie know what questions you'd like us to ask them. You can email either one of us, just our first names, Mike or Susie, at NewsTalkSTL.com. And if you send in some questions during the show, then Jerome can get those to us as well. All right, maybe time to start to think about how you're going to improve your property, your home. And one of the best ways to do that is to add that fence, to add that deck. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at STL Fenceworks, STLFenceworks.com. Let me tell you something. I was hanging out with the guys from STL Fenceworks with Sean the other day, and I learned a lot of stuff. You can go probably find anybody, to say, oh, I can put up a deck for you, and they're going to go buy you some cheap wood or someplace at a home improvement store, and then you're going to be maintaining and staining it and fixing it and repairing it and replacing it year after year after year after year. Or you can get a permanent fix with STL Fenceworks, STLFenceworks.com. We are talking about materials that don't rot, that don't need stained, that don't need sealed, and they are going to last basically forever, whether that is your fencing or whether that is your deck. And get this, they were very smart with their inventory before a lot of the changes happened in the country. And buying American-made products means that their prices aren't getting jacked up like a lot of other companies are, because they're importing cheap stuff from around the world. STL Fenceworks uses American products for this. So check them out today, STLFenceworks.com. You can schedule an estimate today, and they will come out and take a look at what they can do for you, and you will never regret working with this locally owned company, STLFenceworks.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
You know, when I hear that music, I think of Dan Bongino.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what he used on his show, and he's making a comeback.
He is.
And he's raising some eyebrows with what he's saying about his soon-to-be comeback.
Yeah.
So I think 8:35. Let's talk about that. If you've not seen what Dan said already, check it out, and then we'll kind of go over, because I don't really know 100% what he means by it.
It is very open to interpretation, but that's not always a good thing.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I guess it depends on who he's going to target here. Could be good, could be bad. I don't know. So I'm curious what everybody thinks about that. All right, it is going on 8:20 right now. Venezuela has a new leader, and she's already hearing threats from President Trump. That did not take long. And Missouri Democrats have settled on their top priority, and that is keeping your taxes as high as possible. And the city's police chief gets a side gig. He is moonlighting.
Ooh.
I'm actually okay with this. I don't have an issue with this. All right, 8:20 right now. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
Okay, President Trump is warning Venezuela's new leader to cooperate with his administration or else.
The president said Vice President Delcy Rodriguez would face a situation probably worse than Nicolas Maduro if she doesn't cooperate with the U.S. He initially praised Rodriguez on Saturday after the capture of Maduro, but told The Atlantic on Sunday that if she doesn't do what's right, she is going to pay a very big price. Later, aboard Air Force One, the president predicted Cuba's government could soon collapse, and he repeated his desire to take over Greenland. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And the UN Security Council discussed the capture of Maduro at their meeting yesterday. Speaking at that hearing, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, said Maduro was not the legitimate leader of Venezuela.
Over 50 countries rejected the legitimacy of Maduro's re-election following the disputed 2024 elections and do not recognize him as Venezuela's legitimately elected president. Maduro unlawfully refused to peacefully cede power.
And regarding the charges in the United States, Nicolas Maduro pled not guilty and then tried to go on a rant about how this is all unjust and, you know, he's still the legitimate president of Venezuela. And the judge was like, hush. Not the time or place, Nick.
You had your chance. Now it's the roosters are coming to coo, you know?
We'll see what happens with it. Okay, Missouri Democrats say they want to block the tax reform that's being pushed.
It's a very bold strategy.
Yeah. Election year. We don't want to cut your taxes. House Democratic leader Ashley Awney told reporters that stopping the effort to end the state's income tax is among their top priorities, if not their top priorities. Now, obviously, Republicans have a supermajority in both chambers of the legislature, so Democratic opposition to tax relief easily defeated if the GOP lawmakers choose to stick together on this. I think we are going to have some kind of significant tax relief this year. Now, we may not feel it for a couple of years. It may be one of those things that are stepped down, but we're going to talk to a lot of lawmakers and the governor about that tomorrow.
Yeah, and in previous years, I could imagine maybe saying we need the tax revenue for essential services to keep the public going, and people may have been more receptive to that. But this year, how much fraud, corruption, waste has been going on that's been exposed, people are furious, and one of the big reasons is because our taxes are being mishandled, and so their strategy is to say, well, we know all this is a public opinion, but we still want your tax money.
And I think it's not even, it's that, and I don't want to diminish it because I think you're right, but I think it's also, it's really expensive, and it's not just the state taxes, it's not just the federal taxes, but you're looking at, if you live in the city of St. Louis, you've got a 1% income tax.
Yep.
You've got property taxes everywhere. sales tax. I mean, and so people are feeling the pinch in ways that we didn't necessarily feel it before because it just keeps adding up. And this was a long time coming that there's a breaking point, and taxpayers, I think, have had enough saying this isn't about political activism. I can't afford to stay in my house, or grandma and grandpa can't make it, can't make ends meet, even though they've had the fixed income for all these years. But now they can't do it because the taxes have gone up, and you can see the variable.
Yes, absolutely. I think that people are finally fed up with feeling like they're being used as a piggy bank and that the money taken from them is not actually necessary for the public good.
Right. All right. Governor Tim Walz announcing he is not seeking re-election, even though he had planned to run for a third term. So he was speaking with reporters in St. Paul yesterday, and here's part of Tampon Tim's announcement that he is not running for re-election.
I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences.
Okay, two things. One, when politicians talk about our generosity, what they're talking about is your money.
Yes.
Okay, so always keep that in mind. Secondly, basically his argument is the big, bad, old beanie Republicans did this to me. Well, that means that you got beat in the game of politics, dude.
Yeah, the thing that also stood out is how he's mentioning, this is less time I'll have to protect Minnesotans from those that are basically taking advantage of us. Well, you were the governor this entire time, and this fraud is not, it didn't start overnight. Right. So what were you doing that entire time?
Yeah, even though he's got about a year left before, whoever's elected. I'm going to guess Amy Klobuchar. That's who I'm going to guess. But he's got about another year, so we'll see how much more radical he can be versus how much of this fraud are they going to find? The FBI, who absolutely has jurisdiction because these are federal funds, they have basically surged in Minnesota doing the investigation after the Nick Shirley video. It's very possible that they're going to find criminal corruption that goes possibly all the way to the top of the state government.
I want to see arrests.
Yeah.
I mean,
without a doubt.
That's fair.
It's theft.
Yes.
If I reach into your car because you got a wad of cash right there and I steal it, I should get arrested and go to jail. So why shouldn't somebody go to jail if they're stealing it just because they're doing paperwork in order to do it?
Yes, and if you're negligence, or if you, even worse, if you knew that this was a possibility and you still helped enable it, that's just as bad.
And there's no cash in Jerome's car. I already checked. Just saying. All right, the city's police chief is moonlighting. City Chief Robert Tracy taking on a second job at UMSL. He's now a consultant with the Department of Criminology and the Criminal Justice Center. So taking that new position. Now, here's why I really don't have an issue with this. Taking the new position comes after the St. Louis Police Foundation decided to no longer contribute $100,000 to the chief's annual compensation. Now, remember, that was part of the deal when he took the job. The city says this is what we can pay. And that may not be really competitive for the chief of that size of a police department. So you had this private foundation that says, okay, but we're committing to adding this to your compensation. So he took the job. Now that $100,000 is gone. My guess is that has something to do with the state now taking oversight of the police department, and the police chief's role is frankly changing. So those are all happening at the same time. As far as I know, I could not find in the city charter any prohibition on the police chief working a second job. So this is not a Kimberly Gardner situation where the city charter specifically forbade her from having a second job, or the St. Louis County charter specifically forbidding the county executive from having a different job. The police chief here is going to be able to do some consulting, and he'll be able to make some more money. It does not seem to be something that would interfere with his job. So if it doesn't interfere with it, I don't see what the problem would be.
Yeah, and it beats, being in a squad car and still doing like Uber Eats and DoorDash, I suppose, right?
Exactly. All right. In the U.S. House, Democrats are still trying to cling to Obamacare subsidies, thinking this is going to be their winning issue.
This week, as a result of a Democratic-led effort, the House of Representatives will vote on bipartisan legislation to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credit.
That is Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries saying the Democrats, this is their version of affordability, which means tax all the rest of us to pay for some other people's health care cost. President Trump, they say, we're trying to keep things affordable while President Trump is starting wars. That's the line that they're using right now. which is actually a pretty effective line, even though it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, the optics and with the average person's attention span of how things are going, I could see how tying those two together might be, beneficial to your cause. It's just not necessarily the most accurate view of what's actually happening, and for that, shame on you.
All right, Susie mentioned this yesterday, so it is unofficially official.
Oh.
Today is the day you're supposed to take down your Christmas tree according to the traditions of Christendom.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, so today is Epiphany, which concludes the 12 days of Christmas. That is not just a song, that is actually an ancient tradition that we have now turned into a Christmas carol song. Historians and many theologians believe the tradition dates back to a proclamation by the Council of Tours in the year 567.
Holy tradition. Now,
no pun intended, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, because again, not to expose too much of my ignorance, but I quite literally just thought that was a song. I've never once in my 30 years on this planet ever known anybody that does the full 12 days of Christmas.
So the taking down of the decorations and the tree, that literally goes back to a very ancient tradition.
Wow. That's
centuries
impressive.
old. Yeah. So there you have it. Don't be that guy or gal in your neighborhood that leaves your Christmas decorations up all year. Don't do that. Just saying.
Well, if you leave them up long enough, they become Halloween decorations,
That's
right?
right. Yeah. I'm just early for next year. Okay, the Blues don't play again until tomorrow. They are 17, 18, and 8 right now on the season. That puts them in 6th place in the Central Division. So they're really not that far out of the middle of the pack. So it's not like they're in the worst spot, but they're not in a great spot. The Blues are going to be in Chicago tomorrow playing the Blackhawks.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
I am not the expert on geopolitics.
on NewsTalkSTL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
We continue to ride this wave of unseasonably warm winter weather, once again topping out about 20 degrees above normal this afternoon. My forecast high sits at 60 degrees. Very nice. Pockets of clouds around this morning, but mostly sunny skies this afternoon as winds turn out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Mostly clear tonight, down to 36 for the low, and we'll keep the beautiful weather going tomorrow. Mostly sunny and a high of 62 Wednesday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary with Guy Benson next.
If you're over 40 and plan to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've built becomes just as important as growing it. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They help investors reduce risk by adding gold and silver to their portfolios. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making investment decisions.
Here's Guy Benson.
What an achievement by our military, another flawless operation. I think politically, the American people are willing to see the military leveraged for overwhelming uses of power, for military strikes and missions like this, so long as they are discreet, limited, and not open-ended nation building and that sort of thing. And we've seen that as a hallmark of Trump foreign policy going back to the previous Trump administration. And of course, we've seen it vis-a-vis Iran and Venezuela here. For the Democrats, it's just bizarre. The Biden-Harris administration offered a $25 million reward leading to the capture and arrest of Nicolas Maduro. And now Democrats seem to be objecting to, and the DNC is fundraising off of, being angry about the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. It is completely incoherent and unserious.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
They served our country with honor. Now it's our turn to serve them. Join the freedom13.org for an unforgettable gala honoring America's heroes, February 27th at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles. A special evening supporting Freedom 13's bold mission. 50 camps in 50 states on more than 50,000 acres, building 650 homes for veterans, police, and their families. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now. Visit thefreedom13.org. That's thefreedom13.org.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
It is an honor and a privilege to have U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt.
Hey, I have to tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you this. In the 90s, what would this have been? Mid-90s. Yeah. And I was I worked at Grant's Farm, and I had a couple other jobs. In the afternoon, I would often hear and listen to Porcelli's Deli on the radio.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making me feel older than I already feel. That's just great.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit hansonstree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention News Talk STL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Vince Colonnese. I'll talk to you tonight at 8, but now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
Okay, of course, Vince, being an addition, we're enjoying Vince on the program here, but he took Dan Bongino's spot.
Yeah.
When Dan Bongino went to work for the FBI, went to work for the Trump administration. So just not quite a year into that, Bongino has now stepped down from there. So he is going to come back and do media somehow. What we don't know is what he's going to do. There's some kind of announcement I suspect we'll probably hear in the next week or so. I don't know if he's going to come back to just do his radio show. I don't know if he's going to, just do the podcast video cast thing the way that like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh or some of those. I don't know if he's going to do that, whether he's got something lined up on like Fox or Newsmax or whatever. I don't know what he's going to do. But whatever he does, he's going to have a very large reach and a very big audience.
Oh, yeah. There's quite a bit of anticipation for his return.
Yeah. So he posted on social media, and I'm going to have to edit on the fly here just a little bit. He said, "Good to see you all. I missed you. Thanks for everything while we worked on cleaning up. Working in the administration was the experience of a lifetime. I'll have some announcements coming, but I'm taking a couple of days to spend with the family. A couple of things. Thank you for your interest in the show and its return date. Pretty obvious. We'll have something for you soon. The Trump team is not kidding around. It's an otherworldly experience from the other side. He's determined and focused, and having been around quite a few presidents, this one broke the mold." He goes on to say, "If we blocked you," and this is from his personal account, "it's because we care so little about your BS that we deem it not worthy of even seeing. If you're bitching and whining about it, that means you can't exist without seeing and commenting on ours. You'll need to get over that. We do it because there's nothing black pillars and anti-Trumpers want more than to create division and drama. We're about the results, and we'll talk about some of it soon." Okay, maybe I'm above the certain age. I don't know what a black pillar is. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, so a black pillar is somebody that usually tries to expose the world, like change the way people view the world to show it as less rose-tinted and be a little bit more realistic or a little bit more, I guess nihilistic would be a better term as well. So, for example, if we're talking about the DNC and they're talking about how they're fighting fascism right now, the black pill for the DNC would be Donald Trump is nowhere close to a fascist. You're all being deceived and being manipulated into being a useful idiot for the Democratic Party right now, right? So that's what kind of caught my eyes, because alongside with that, there was a report, like a headline that he actually retweeted, Dan Bongino retweeted, and it says, "Dan Bongino declares war on black pillars and grifters trying to hijack MAGA." So a MAGA black...
And his answer was, "You're damn right I am."
Yep.
I mean, literally, those are his words.
His direct word for word in that post. So in some regards, I guess I could be seen as a black pillar, depending on who you ask, because I am very much try to be as real with the facts of the matter and then compare it to historical examples of things. So if it doesn't align with what the narrative, the hype is, that sort of thing, I would be considered more of a black pillar because I'm keeping people rational and level-headed.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on what he means by this. Because on another thing that he had written, basically he was saying this isn't infighting. This is essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, vetting out the cancers in his perspective, on this. So I don't know who he's referring to on this. So if he's referring to the Fuentes types, if he's referring to the Tate types, if he's referring to the Alex Jones types, if he's referring to the Candace Owens types, great, vet them out. We don't want or need those in our movement in any way, shape, or form. I'm all for that. If it's a matter of we're just going to go after the people who critique or disagree with the president or are willing to critique or disagree if we think he's wrong, well, then that's a whole other thing.
Well, that's kind of what concerns me about this as well, is the idea of hijacking MAGA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the people mentioned, I don't think that they're necessarily trying to hijack it. It's just that they have become very critical. And Alex Jones, ironically, would be somebody I would consider what's called a white pillar. They believe that no matter how bad things are getting, or they appear to be secretly behind the scenes, President Trump, the administration has things under control. It's all trust the plan sort of ideology, that, at least from what I've been hearing from Alex Jones lately. So I don't think he would be necessarily one, but the grifters, yes. I mean, we have an epidemic of people that they get a large following online, and then they start to insert things that are not fully true, or they present incomplete things as a full story.
Or they're just insane. Like Candace Owens, who's clearly mentally ill.
And they push stuff that is not factual, it's not accurate, and they are doing that, and that's also changing a lot of the way people are viewing different administration things, different elements of the world. But again, to your credit, because you mentioned, you didn't really know what blackpilling is.
That's honestly the first time I'd ever heard the term.
It's kind of become a jargon term to where the people that are more commonly using it now don't know the origins or what it's supposed to represent. So people like me that knows.
So you got a denotative and then like a connotative. So, so what I'm hearing you say, that's like the definition, the denotative. When people hear that word now, the way that Bongino's using it, what would be the connotation? What do people think of when they hear that?
Well, I guess it also depends on how deep into the culture that kind of coined these terms are. So, like, for example, red pilling, if you ask a Democrat, a red pill is, it's Republican-based, it's right-wing. But the red pill actually comes from the movie The Matrix, where you're supposed to be, it's not partisan, it's revealing the truth and seeing things the way that it is. So I don't know enough particularly about Dan Bongino in this specific incident to say whether or not he means people that are basically pointing out that a lot of what the administration says is not always as great and triumphant, and that's just politics.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is every single politician's wrong about some things.
Or if it's people specifically that are intentionally branding themselves as part of MAGA, but then sneaking things in to try to change the way people view the MAGA movement, President Trump, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, and MAGA is a populist movement. I've said on the air, I've said privately, I've said publicly that, remember, Donald Trump defeated the conservative movement as much as he defeated the left.
And same with America First.
With the MAGA movement. So it's a very populist movement, and that happens from time to time. The Tea Party movement was more conservative. Economically in particular.
You're blackpilling right now, Mike.
Well, yeah. I mean, apparently, if that's what that is, yeah. And then, you've got Ross Perot's reform movement, which was very, very popular, very populist. And so we yesterday talked to State Representative Adam Niemerg out of Illinois. He says what he was arguing for was a conservative version of populism to get Republican voters who have given up to come back out to the polls, saying we know the voters are out there in Illinois, but they're not showing up because they're defeated. They already feel defeated. And so there's that. But the thing is, with every populist movement, and you can go back to Tea Party because then there was infighting with who's really Tea Party, who are really the leaders, which ones are the legitimate ones. These are grifters. You had the same thing with the reform movement with Ross Perot. You can go back to La Follette back in the early part of the 1900s when you look at these populist movements, and obviously he was going to be farther, a lefty. But they all end up having a power struggle, and then they all have their run, and they all come and they go, and they set the stage for whatever's next. MAGA isn't going to be around forever. Now, MAGA has lasted a whole lot longer than most populist movements by a long shot, and that's because of the way Donald Trump has been in and out of office as he's kept that movement going, and the things that have been subsidiaries from it. So when Bongino is talking about going after the grifters, hey, if it's a grifter, go after him. Does he mean people who are taking away from the freedom in the conservative movement, or is he talking about people who just critique the president or critique MAGA? Because MAGA's right about a lot of stuff. MAGA's wrong about some other stuff too.
Well, that's what I'm secretly trying to hope that what he means is not the cultural grifters, like the people that we've mentioned, like the social media influencers,
Right.
quote unquote independent journalist types, but the actual people within the actual establishment, within government, within the media themselves, the actual legacy media, declaring war on those grifters and the people that are nefarious in their intentions and trying to sow the division. But when you use words that are popular as internet slang terms, such as black pill, grifter, stuff of that nature, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to differentiate. So I have seen people, a lot of the pushback being, well, we don't want you with all of your expertise and all of your experience within the administration. We don't want you to be just another media drama kind of show. We have enough of those. We want you to wage war on the deep state and the traitors within our own government.
And now he's seen it up close.
Yeah. And we know that they're there. And of course, I'm sure some people are speculating, he may have signed an NDA or something of that nature. So we're probably not going to get a whole lot of the curtain pulled, but it's going to be interesting. And he seems to have a lot of integrity. And so I'm going to trust that he's going to be doing the things that we're hoping for him. But I'm not 100%. When you use terms like black pill and you want to wage war on them, that's not something that's necessarily just one group of bad actors.
Well, it also seems like he's leaving, or he left the administration on good terms.
Yeah.
This wasn't another one of those drama fallout, Trump throws him under the bus thing. They seem to have left on very good terms, which makes me wonder if Bongino's presence in the administration was by design temporary.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly understand why President Trump wanted Bongino.
Strategically.
He fits the profile of exactly the type of person that Trump wants in the administration.
Yep.
I mean, Bongino, Pete Hegseth, you look at people like, he fits the mold of what the president likes.
Oh, yeah.
So I see that, but Bongino walked away from tens of millions of dollars of a media empire. People don't understand how lucrative Bongino Inc., for lack of a better term, actually is. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Dan in a long time. I wonder if, okay, Mr. President, I'll help, shake things up, but then I'm going to go back to doing what I like to do. I don't know if that was the case or if he got in and just truly missed it. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But we do know that when Bongino comes back in some fashion, he's got a much more up-close look at how things are really happening right now.
Yeah, but from an optics and strategy perspective, I mean, Dan Bongino fits a lot of the molds of what people want to see from their media representatives and people in government as well. And you don't just walk away from your own massive empire and all that money if you don't sincerely have some sort of strong belief of duty.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in that regard, I mean, clearly with one of the tweets he made saying he was shaken to his core by what he was exposing, that's going to be something that I think a lot of people are hoping he's going to at least be able to talk a little bit more about. And then to leave from that, though, I mean, he was there firsthand and now he's going to come back. So really, hopefully, he's going to be able to put more context of what's going on within the government and where all these problems are stemming from.
And the big question, though, who is he defining as the grifters?
Yes.
And who is he going to go at? Because I think there are some that need to be targeted and vetted out. I think that I think that you can have a tent that's way too big, and that all you're doing is putting millstones around your neck. If you say, "Well, have everybody," there are some people that are just evil.
Yeah.
That you don't want in your tent. And the enemy of my enemy is not always my friend.
Yeah, and also, keep an open mind, but not so open that your brain falls out, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Now, if you are a big fan of these kinds of conversations, we do have an amazing podcast after the show. We chop it up and we go ahead and upload it so you can share it with your friends or some of your enemies that may need to have some common sense put in there.
Especially the enemies.
Especially the
and
naysayers.
The black pillars and the grifters,
yeah,
whatever.
So go ahead and send this segment to all the black-pilled grifters and let them know Dan Bongino's coming for them.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Colombo and Company.
2026 has started fast and furious, and we're here to keep you informed on everything going on. Tuesday, we'll break down the latest headlines with Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on Newstalk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 Newstalk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
A little bit of breaking news here. I got this off of Fox News. The Republican majority in the U.S. House is reduced just a little bit.
Oh.
Unfortunately, Congressman Doug LaMalfa, Republican out of California, has apparently unexpectedly passed away.
Oh,
he was 65 years old, so I don't know what the cause is on this. So and I'm trying to say this in a way that keeps in mind primarily humanity. A 65-year-old man who is a husband and a father and a representative has passed away. I'm not familiar with Doug LaMalfa. He was obviously not a huge power player in politics, but he was a representative out of California. Which means that the Republicans' current majority goes down to 218 to 213. I think that Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation takes effect in another week or two. Mm-hmm. So that's going to reduce that just a little bit more. And so essentially, the Republicans are going to be in a position to where the Republican leadership can only lose basically 2 votes and be able to pass stuff in the U.S. House. So I hate to approach that and frame it as a matter of numbers. I mean, a man passed away.
Yeah.
And so that's, condolences obviously to his family and his constituents. And I really don't know anything about him. I don't know how conservative he was or how moderate. I have no idea. But that is just something to figure into the calculations as the House now goes into this midterm election year with a even more razor thin room for dissent that they had before.
Yep, and it was already going to be obviously a tight primary in a lot of areas because there are quite a few groups that have become a little bit disgruntled, especially with the lack of domestic things getting pushed through and done that we were hoping for at this point in the presidency. So that's obviously it's a tragic thing when anybody passes away so young.
Right.
But at the same time, that's now also putting more pressure nationally because if the Democrats get back in control, then it's really what choice, what chances are we going to have to get things done that need to be done?
Yeah, I mean, and if the Republicans don't deliver, you look at what's the best case scenario. A bunch of conservatives get elected and push the conservative but the worst case scenario is the Democrats win the House and we have gridlock.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a libertarian. I'm okay with gridlock in government. What's the worst that happens? They don't screw something else up worse.
True.
I'm sometimes gridlock is just another way to say damage control.
Well, makes me think of the government shutdown for a little bit,
Yeah.
too. If not for the fact that there were Congress people that supported the shutdown still getting paid, I don't think we really would have minded if they didn't reopen, would we?
Hey, Gabe and I had been begging for a shutdown, and we finally got it.
Gabe, I'm sorry, but when he literally asked Congressman Onder, and it was like, if I'm really good, could we have a government?
Yeah, he goes, if I'm good, can I have one for Christmas?
and he must have been very good because
Yes,
we got it. But
of course
again,
he was.
so I understand completely. Now, the other issue, though, is that there are things that we collectively, our side of things, that are not these lunatic fringe weirdos. The less chances, I mean, even with a gridlock, we don't have the opportunity sometimes to get the things done that need to be done. We have a lot of things that need to still be investigated, for example.
Sure.
We have a lot of...
there's still a lot of Epstein files that need to be released.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are, remember, that's not over. That's not over. Now, those are swallowed up from other things in the news, but we're not done with that.
And then we also have a lot of this fraud that still needs to be. I mean, we need a nationwide. We need the ability to push things through and force the exposure of all the corruption, of all of the damage that's been done, and then actually be able to hold people accountable. And so the more time that we have to fight on the floor about this thing or the other thing, the less time that is actually ever going to be devoted to following through on that.
Yeah. So it's going to be obviously a crucial midterm election year, and then of course. At the state level as well. I mean, Illinois gets really kind of underway at the state assembly in late January. I mean, the House is going to first start meeting on January 20th to do some work. The Senate doesn't even have anything on the calendar. And, of course, we had our friends at the Freedom Caucus yesterday say there's probably not going to be anything that happens until after the primary election, which in Illinois is in March.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk to the different candidates for governor from time to time there. On the Missouri side, a lot of interesting, races are shaping up, particularly more interesting locally. I think that race for St. Charles Executive is going to be probably, I would say, maybe the most important local race that we have. Statewide, we've got the state auditor's race. Scott Fitzpatrick is going to win re-election because he's doing a good job, and he's actually going to be on the program with us tomorrow when we're at the state capitol doing the show from Jefferson City. Susie and I are going to be there for that. So here's what I caution the last couple minutes we've got, is that we get so caught up in Team Red, Team Blue, Team R, Team D, Team MAGA versus everybody else in the world, or however you want to look at it. Remember that what we're talking about are the people that we hire to govern, and that affects our lives. And when Team R says, I want to go to big government to fix a problem, I want us to call that out as much as we call out Team D. There's to me, it's more about the freedom movement and actual conservatism. And I think it's our job, whether it's in conservative media or whether it is in the advocacy, whether it's the those that we're electing, it's our job to police our own, which is why I'm really going to be fascinated to see what Dan Bongino does with this, whether he goes a direction where you might even, Jerome, go, oh, that's what he meant. Okay, great. Yes. Or he may go a direction where you start shaking your fist and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm not trying to hijack MAGA.
Right.
I'm Missouri first.
I'm not part of MAGA. I think there's some great parts of it. There's other parts I think are just missing the mark in a huge way. But that just comes with being a critical, independent thinker.
Yeah, and like I said, from between Bondi and Patel and Bongino, I think the biggest disappointment people have with Bongino is that he was not able to really fully be utilized, and now whereas with Cash Patel and Pam Bondi, there are loads of things to be disappointed in them about.
Oh, so totally, especially Bondi.
So for him to be able to walk away from this, come back to be able to continue his show, which I enjoyed his show.
Oh, yeah.
And then to also be able to keep his chin up held high and realize that there was really nothing you can complain about with him. I think he's going to be in a very good position. But I do hope exactly what you're saying is that it's just he was using terms that have common jargon into them, and he's not actually talking about what I think he might.
It also shows you that I'm out of touch. I had never, until literally I read his tweet, I had never heard that term before.
Okay, boomer.
Basically. So is X the new boomer? Gen X is the new boomer.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I've just come to the conclusion, when I don't know what it is, I'm just going to tell you, I don't know what it is. And go to you young whippersnappers to tell me what that means.
All right, Mike, go Pokemon Go to the Capitol.
What the heck? What?